Hello. Happy 10,000 subscribers. We are 4,261 subscribers late.
Yeah, just a little bit past what we were planning on doing this for.
A smidge.
Just a skosh.
A bit.
A fairly sizable skosh.
Yeah, a bite size past.
We'll do a 10K AMA by the time we manage to get all the questions sussed out. Well, we'll do a 14.2K AMA.
Also, hi guys, I'm Chesh the editor. Many of you might not know me, but I'm here.
No, they definitely know you. They hear your no.
right.
At the end of every episode.
Dude, how did you fucking imitate my no so perfectly? That sounded like the me that I hear when I edit the video, and that audio clip is in there. That was perfect.
Years of terrible voice acting.
So true.
You do this professionally.
Monsters, Captain! Monsters from below!
Not even close. See, it takes skill to do something poorly. It takes natural talent to do it.
It takes natural talent to do something poorly, dude. Here, let me try again.
Monsters, Captain! Monsters from below!
It's a fucking soundboard. Don't
What?
buy into his
That's
bullshit.
crazy. That's like slander right now. I can't believe you even said that.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's do the questions. We
Kids
have
these days.
like what, 42, and then a handful of other things at the end. So we'll just start from the top.
The answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Indeed, it is 42. We both read Hitchhiker's Guide.
I'm surprised that a child your age has actually managed to read through Hitchhiker's Guide.
Dude, I have like the compendium on my bookshelf. I love that book.
Yes. Don't panic.
All right. Question number 1. How did each of you get into Dungeons and Dragons? We'll start with you.
So the way that I got into it was rather interesting. So I liked board games when I was a kid. I like to come up with stories for board games. I actually used to make up extra rules for games to make them more complicated and interesting. Like we made up stats for some of the pieces in Stratego when I was at the Boys and Girls Club.
Stratego is so good. I haven't played that shit since I was in high school. Oh my god.
Yeah, we actually had stats for the each of them, and you could roll a d6, and it would plus or minus your strength of your piece. So it was a really weird thing. It completely destroyed the strategy of the game.
Totally.
But it was a lot of fun for us. And, it was Boys and Girls Club in San Francisco, and, I was a nerdy kid, so it's not like I was out hanging out with all the kids that were playing massive amounts of sports. Like, I still liked sports a little bit. I still played basketball and stuff like that, but my passion was board games. I liked Choose Your Own Adventure books, which are amazing. And those were a big inspiration for me. So, naturally, my mom discovered that there was a game called Dungeons and Dragons that had a choose your own adventure in it called Zanzertem's Dungeon. And what it was it wasn't just a choose your own adventure book. Like, I actually have the original little red folder that everything came in. I'll take pictures so that you can post it when we're with this. I have the original. I have kept it with me all these years. So I was in
artifact.
Yeah, I was in 7th grade when I was introduced to Dungeons and Dragons, and it was by my mom. We pulled the thing out. I discovered that it was not just a choose your own adventure book, but it was actually a choose your own adventure set of slides that taught you how to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, nice.
By doing a CYOA.
That's actually really clever.
It was extremely clever. It immediately hooked me, and I thought it was the most amazing thing. And I was really excited to go through it and thought it was super cool. But the part that blew my mind was that you start out and you're a person in this town, and this guy asks you to take this bag to this wizard and don't look in it, and he'll give you some coin. And so you're like, okay, cool. And then you have the options to look in the bag, and then stuff happens to you on the way across town. And then eventually you find out that you were actually delivering a bagged cockatrice to a wizard for his experiments. And then the wizard imprisons you in his dungeon to experiment on you too, because he's a psycho.
Yeah, classic.
And that's where the choose your own adventure ends.
Oh.
And I was like, what? And they're like, to find out the next part of the adventure, open the next thing. And you open it up, and it's a fucking dungeon map.
Holy dude!
And
no,
it just
that
goes-
must have blown your fucking mind.
And it just goes, now find some of your friends, pick one of you to be the dungeon master, and play D&D. Escape Zanzer Thames dungeon. And I was done. I was slain.
Oh yeah.
It was over.
That's like playing a fucking video game and figuring out it's an ARG. Like, holy
Yeah.
what? This goes so
Right?
far beyond what I was expecting. What
Yeah.
the fuck? I remember when I was in high school, I was playing Super Hot. You know that game? The fucking time moves when you moves?
Yep,
I
yep.
like got out of bounds and found a random email address. And I was like, what? And so I
Yep.
emailed it and they gave me like a fucking QR code and it led me down a whole rabbit trail. That stuff is so cool. Blew my
Yeah.
mind.
It's so much fun when they do crazy stuff like that.
Your horizons just expand.
Also, Super Hot's a badass game by itself. So yeah, that was my experience. Unfortunately, my little sister, who was 4 years younger than me, had no interest in playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Tragic.
My mom was not available very much because she was, single mom trying to get by. So she didn't have a whole lot of time to play. So unfortunately, I ended up just playing the game by myself because none of my friends were into it either.
ForeverDM indeed.
The few that I had, I had moved so many times when I was a kid that I didn't have like a real core group of friends. I had like a couple people that I knew.
God, do I know that feeling.
But yeah, that was my introduction to Dungeons and Dragons.
The first time I ever ran into Dungeons and Dragons, I was in a church lock-in, which is like a massive collective sleepover, right? And there were some like mid to late 20s dudes playing it, and I made a character sheet, but then I got distracted because the other event was a church facility-wide Nerf battle. So that demanded my
that'd pull you
attention.
away from it.
And I'm not gonna lie, in retrospect, that was the right choice. Love Dungeons and Dragons. If you can get in an industrial complex with all the lights off, sneaking around shooting people in the back with a Nerf blaster, it's way better. It's so good.
I could definitely see that being a thing.
I did some crazy shit during that too. There was also like a hide and seek event, and I was so hard to find. I would like get in rafters or like hide in recycling bins and then pop out and shoot you with my shot. Anyway, that's not important. What is important is that a good handful of years later, I came across a podcast called The Adventure Zone, which I'm sure many people have heard of. But it was really easy to get into because the game is three brothers and their dad playing D&D. And they just like shit post around for the first like arc of Lost Mines of Phandelver. But then like by the end of the thing, they have accidentally made like peak fiction and everyone's crying. It was really, really good. Super slow burn. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. And the thing that struck me immediately was every time I ever wanted to play a video game, I would always have an idea of something to do that the programmers and developers of the game never could have anticipated. So I didn't get to do the thing because they didn't think of it in advance. And watching these people play D&D and someone having an idea and the DM going, I didn't think of that, but I guess we can make it happen, was like a light bulb turned on in my soul, dude. I was like, oh, that is why computers suck and humans are the fucking supreme species on Earth.
It's the infinite possibilities, bro.
This is why we're the best. This is why humans are on top. I have to play this game. And so, being poor, I went to a used bookstore and bought the 4th edition source books. 5e was out at this time, but the 4e books were cheaper, and I didn't know what the fucking difference was. D&D is D&D, right? So I get a group together, and I buy them all dice with my the money I make being a janitor at a gym at night. I would go in and like wipe down all the surfaces and blow the place out with a leaf blower. And I was like, okay, guys, you guys ready? I started... Oh, my God, hold on. I have the binder for this. 1 second. Yeah, so I had a binder. I can't believe I still have this. I was really stoked for this. I have all their characters, too. But here's the thing. We never played. I named the group because I was, like, in 8th grade or something. The Loremongers, which I thought was a fantastic name. Like, that's good. You can't tell me that's not good. Anyway, they never fucking played, so I didn't get to play D&D for a long time until I had to drop out of high school for medical reasons because I couldn't think or function anymore. And after I got through like the recovery process, I ended up in a D&D group online, which is where I met one of my best friends, Cameron. You know him, Thriving Inferno.
Yep.
And I played a son of a bitch. Well, actually, my first ever D&D character was a narcoleptic dwarf named Dijon Mustard. But that game got canceled, and the game I played in... It's so good. And the game I played in going forward, I played a son of a bitch elf named Brian, who is totally just a straight rip-off of Taco from the Adventure Zone, because, again, I was like 15 or something. I didn't...
Sombrero?
Yeah, he ended up being his own character by the time I left that group, because it was kind of a group. But man, I had some great moments in that campaign, which I have a video of, called The Life of Brian, and I think it's really funny to this day. Brian! Listen, man. Dude, that voice was so annoying. I can't believe they let me get away with it.
I fucking love it.
And then at some point, I just thought to myself, I want to play D&D again. It's been a really long time. And so I started looking for player ads on D&D Beyond, and found a random link talking about advertising for a group called The Best Available, believe it or not. And that's how I ended up in the ForeverDM's server, and the rest is history.
I still can't believe that the fact that one of the people was going to go out and put out an ad is the only reason why I managed to actually meet you.
Dude, your life would look so different right now if it was like... the world would... The timeline would be completely different. Like, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, no, dude. Yeah.
To quote the British, it doesn't bear thinking about.
Is that a thing British people say?
Who cares? We can blame whatever we want on them. They'll believe it. The audience will believe it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Anyway, question 2. How did the group form for The Best Available?
Yeah, that's a good one. TBA originally formed because I had 2 friends who were very interested in playing Dungeons and Dragons. We were in an Arma group together, actually, and they both thought that it was really cool. One of them was Doodle Poodle, our illustrious artist, the main person who works on all the things, the player of Angela and Redwin. And the other one was Natalia's player, Comrade Wolf. And they thought it would be really cool if they got the chance to play D&D, and I told them, hey, I'll put together a D&D game for you guys. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I've got some cool ideas, and it could be a blast. And it turned from that, like, initial, hey, let's, maybe do a thing, into we want to do, like, a campaign, and it's going to be cool, and they got 2 more players. Comrade Wolf brought his girlfriend in. Doodle Poodle brought his wife in. They were both super interested in playing. And I kind of said, hey, well, I would love to do a thing where I actually, like, just make a series about it. And if I'm serious about, like, running this campaign and getting all the way through it, I didn't get the chance to record my last campaign that I did. Storm King's Thunder was amazing, and I wish I had recorded it because I'd love to share it with other people who play D&D because it was amazing.
And for the audience at home, that Storm King's Thunder game is where Zacharias originated.
Yep, and where the whole creation of Forge Home and all that happened.
The canon goes way back.
Yep. We started on that ride, and I was like, so I'm just going to record this, and maybe someday I'll do some editing on it, and I'll put it out as, like, YouTube videos or whatever, and it could be cool.
Dude, the foresight you had there cannot be understated. Like, that is insane. Imagine you hadn't.
And the rest is history. And you can tell in the earlier episodes, if you're listening at all, or if you remember them, that I was not professional at all. I was using my headset microphone that I was using to play Arma to record my audio. You could clearly hear me munching on Doritos, hot micing all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Chesh has listened to more Dorito munching than he has probably personally partaken in his life.
That's true. That is true, yes. Question 3 is, who makes all the art? We have 2 wonderful artists. One is Doodle Poodle, who plays Angela, and the other is Nala Fontaine, who plays Bethaniel. Right now, we're in the Feywild arc, and that's where Nala has been fronting most of the art, but they often work together on the pieces.
Well, art, I also do want to point out that we can use that a little more loosely if we wanted to. Obviously, our main artists who create a lot of the art assets are Doodle Poodle and Fontaine. But we also have Chesh, who creates the artwork that is our shorts, which is a absolute madhouse of mishmashing things together in order to make hilarious D&D memes and insightful D&D moments on occasion when the thing strikes him.
And if I don't know if I'd call it art, but for every wonderfully rendered scene you see in the best available, there is somewhere in the ether a really shitty MS Paint storyboard that I made. I'm doing that all the time.
You need to take a screenshot of my icon.
Oh yeah. I'll put up some examples of my Scribble Scrabble. And hey, if you've seen the worst available, you know my artistic prowess.
That's true. Your artistic prowess. Yes.
Oh, close one there.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Okay. Question number 4. What was the inspiration for everyone's characters?
Oh boy.
I believe Natalia was inspired by Girls Last Tour or Girls Frontline or whatever.
Girls on Panzer.
Girls. Okay, there's a lot of fucking girls at war anime. Okay, give me a break.
Yes,
Saga of Tanya the Evil might even be closer spiritually, but whatever.
Yeah. It's, emotionally, she's probably closer to.
I'm gonna burn this city to the ground. Okay, Natalia.
Yeah, she's one of the characters from the Pravda Girls High School, Nana, known also as Blizzard, and is one of the supporting characters.
Yeah, I have never seen that show, so I don't know anything about that, but I'm sure it's lovely.
It's worth watching. It's actually really, really entertaining. Obviously, Angela is inspired by Angie, who is a original character that Doodle Poodle created quite a long time ago. And has been in a lot of his works, including his original comic that he made.
As I am told, she, in turn, was inspired by Nala Fontaine, his wife.
Yep.
Which makes it really funny that he's playing in a campaign as his wife, with his wife, who's playing as an elf.
Yep.
That always cracks me up.
And they're not together.
Yeah, and in universe they are not together. That's the best part.
Not even close to together.
Yeah, the elf is annoyed that he has to babysit her, who out of character is her. It's so cool. It's so funny.
Yeah. And it's funny because in Tales from the Tables, there's actually a lot of reference to the fact that Angie in the game is a self-insert of Angela, who is playing her out of game.
Yeah, dude, the layers.
Pretty entertaining.
It's very Inception-esque.
And then, what do we have? I don't know where Ara's inspiration came from, unfortunately. That was at least partial concoction of the player, who did not share her inspiration. But all of those characters went through a process that I enjoy quite a bit. I use a old book called Central Casting Heroes of Legend.
It is so good. You have no idea how good this book is.
And it is a wild Advanced Dungeons and Dragons era book that allows you to randomly roll everything about your character's background. Important events, special events, weird things like mutations, and you have to do a little bit of work to make it fit into the D&D universe. My biggest one is probably the fact that I say, any stats that it gives you, take as inspiration for how you should aim your character's stats, instead of just giving extra stats, because that will unbalance the game. Because, as you've seen, I'm a sucker for balance. I like things to be challenging. Not too challenging, but definitely not too easy. To take some of the fun out of the game. So it was a interesting ride. All of the characters, the original 4, rolled up central casting backgrounds. And then we used the central casting backgrounds. We used some of the events, we used most of the events actually, and then threw away the ones that didn't make sense that we rolled up in there, didn't fit the narrative, and then took those and integrated them with Forgotten Realms lore to make the characters fit into certain places, and boom, there you go. Bob's your uncle, as the British say.
Yep, they do say that. Do we know what Nala's inspiration for Bithynia was?
I think a lot the same as Ara's.
Right.
Just came up with the idea herself, and then took shape through the rolling up of central casting.
Hell yeah. Do we want to go through the inspiration for Velatha and Tobias as well? I think the inspiration for Velatha was the time the player took a tab of acid. I don't know. My sources from that are the British, so I don't know. I don't trust what they say.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the inspiration was. I do know that Tobias's player Nat has a humongous catalog of characters, wild characters from all different runs and rides.
Yeah.
And that is whatever she does in order to come up with those wild and interesting character concepts is beyond me, man.
The British say it's acid.
No. With Nat, it would probably be large amounts of coffee and then apply animate to forehead, repeat until idea comes or you pass out, whichever happens first.
Oh, whichever. Really, we just know the inspiration of Natalia and Angela. The rest kind of just took form as really original characters.
Yep.
Although, I guess the inspiration for John Boy's original character was an original character who was inspired by an original character who was inspired by his wife, but...
That's so many layers.
It really is.
We did not need to go deeper, but we did anyway.
All right. Also, for anyone who is wondering, all of the history you see in History of Heroes, with Angela and Bethaniel, who's coming up, 90 to 80% of that is established in canon from long since ago. But with Natalia and Ara, not a lot of that was written when the game first started, and me and the ForeverDM worked together to create that together during the production of the video to better seat the character into the lore of the world and make them a bit more well-rounded, especially since we probably won't see much of them again, if anything, from them. You know, we wanted to add a little bit more depth as part of their farewell.
Yeah, Ara has been fully retired as a personal request by the player. So other than the events that take place in or around the game specifically that she was there for, she will probably not be appearing for anything else. So we will probably not see any more of her. Natalia, on the other hand, is a background character of significant interest and effect who has actually arose once again in TBA's later episodes, which you will see someday, and in one of the welcome parties, the second welcome party, as part of the climax of their adventure, she reappeared, and will be appearing another time as a teaser for those of you who are actually in the Out of the Abyss campaign, toward the end of Out of the Abyss. So look forward to that.
Yep. Her character's so fun. When editing the earliest episodes of the series, she was my favorite character to edit because she's just so expressive.
Yes.
But that sort of answers the question, what happened to Ara and Natalia? Did their players switch characters or did they leave the game? They both have left the game. We won't be seeing their players anytime soon. Ara's gone for good. Natalia bounces around in the background because she's just a really fun character to cause problems with.
Yep. Both of the players did fully retire from D&D after their initial few adventures because of changes in schedule and have not come back. Ara does not seem interested in coming back, and changing from one field of study to a completely different field of study has taken up a lot of Wolf's time. So he will probably not have the free time to play Dungeons & Dragons for quite some time. But someday, who knows? Natalia may reappear, played by the original player. I know that Wolf would be down for it, so...
Yeah, the question following up was, will we ever see a one-shot of Natalia fighting the cult while the party is adventuring? Maybe? We have no such plans, and we can make no such promises, but if Wolf comes out of the woodwork one day saying, man, I miss Natalia, you know what I want to do? Kill some innocent cultists. Then we would be happy to oblige.
Oh, the cultists. Okay. What she called cultists, the people of Spinner's Folly. Yeah.
There was some property damage a while back. I wonder, we don't know really what caused it, but...
Yeah, it was a mysterious fire.
Yeah.
If you do want to see Natalia kill some cultists, or people kill cultists that are related to Natalia's character background, then look forward to when we finally manage to put out the episodes for Welcome Party 2, because they do end up dealing with the Castellanter family and their cult, and that is where Natalia reappears as a official character. So that should be fun.
For those of you who are YouTube-only subscribers and you're not in the community Discord for supporters, we are currently adapting the best available Saga of the Void Maiden and a couple shorter games for the channel. We have dozens of campaigns under our belt. The lore in this universe is expansive and massive. We have planned it into the past, into the future, and across timeline splits. You have no idea how deep this rabbit hole goes. So if you're ever curious about what's going on in modern-day TBA, we play the games in a Discord server. You can join if you support us on Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee and watch the games live. Many other games live, including Welcome Party 3 that's coming up. I'm running a game called Unfinished Business, in which all the main characters are revenants seeking revenge on the person who killed them. Countless others. God, there's so many games in this server.
We have games that are run by other people. We have Tiberian Huntsman, which is actually a anime-style crossover game between the Ruby universe and the Command and Conquer universe. So that's an interesting ride by itself. There's games for Delta Green. There's a number of Dungeons & Dragons games. The cost to support us and become part of the supporter-only Discord server is as low as $2, which is pretty reasonable. And when you become a member, that's one of the things that you get access to is the Welcome Party. When a new Welcome Party starts to muster, you are automatically eligible to be a member of the Welcome Party and jump into a short campaign run by me with your character. And I set up times with everybody to make sure that we can all have a good game. So support us. We can always use the support to make more stuff. God, we could make more stuff.
God,
and
we could make more stuff.
You get a lot out of it too. There's art posting on the Discord. The entire Tales from the Tables supporters are there as well. So all the people who support Doodle Poodle's comic are there, and the early screenshots of that comic come out on the server.
We give you early access to the episodes as they come out.
Yep. You get access up to a week early.
I'm just going to say this. I would say the amount of D&D games we stream in this server is comparable to a streaming service. If you like watching long-form Dungeons & Dragons, it is definitely a worthy investment. And the community is actually good. It's just a really fun place to hang out, and there's a lot of good games. I genuinely recommend it.
It has been a ride seeing how well this has come together, and our D&D community is burgeoning with infinite purpose and potential. And I love it. I love
DM-style bars. Burgeoning with infinite potential. Hell yeah. That's the kind of thing you say about the MacGuffin of the campaign.
Infinite potential type shit, sir.
Type shit, sir. What was a moment that completely altered the narrative of the campaign from its original goal?
Oh, man. All right. I'll let you just see a little bit behind the DM screen.
Yeah, if you are in the best available, or you don't want spoilers in how the future of the campaign goes, skip to this timestamp.
Yeah, this is definitely a this is how the sausage is made kind of thing. So, part of being a dungeon master is being able to think on your feet. A lot of people do it differently. Some of them take large amounts of notes and prepare for all kinds of different occurrences, and then you might have to move a couple pieces around, but at least you have a plan, and you can just shift your plan. Some people, like a lot of the time me, we just master the art of baffle them with bullshit. And then we steer the ship away from the rock without anybody ever having known that we were almost straight up Titanic. One of the hardest things to do in a dungeon crawl, specifically, is to bring a new character in. It's actually hard to go, all right, new character, I'm going to seamlessly integrate you with this existing party. And so I have gotten to the point where I'm like, I gotta make it an event, right? I got to make a thing out of it so that it is interesting, so that people want to interact with this new person. They have a reason to be there. It's a cool reason that we can talk about for a little while. It's just good. It's just good stuff. When Torxina was supposed to join the party, I had no idea what I was going to do bring her in. They are on the second level of Undermountain. I've brought in new players. Well, they've been in Undermountain, because we lost a player, bring in a player, lost a player, bring in a player. We had brought in Nyaldrasanth. We had brought in Hadari. Torxina, I just had no idea what to do. And so they're exploring these areas, and I'm like, well, I got to bring her in sometime soon. And they explored an area of Undermountain where one of the apprentices of Hallister had transformed themselves into a metal floating skull that shoots lightning everywhere, and was obsessed with covering everything with copper and having like flesh golems, because flesh golems get a little boost when you shock them, you know, a la Frankenstein. So what I did was there was a dead end that had like a big copper vein. And the whole purpose of it being there was, oh, this is where they got the copper from. That's it. So I have a portal open up in front of the copper vein that's all like rippling and like barely holding itself together. And Torxina tumbles out, and then the portal closes. And I described to Torxina that she was with another party, and they were actually wiped out in Undermountain, and it was so strange. She saw some like weird lights, and she can't remember exactly what it was that they were fighting, but it was terrifying, and they barely escaped. And this is stuff that I'm coming up with off the cuff, like just to put it in there, to make it interesting. And so Torxina is obviously distraught. She's a life cleric. She just lost her entire adventuring party, but it also gives the players like a sense of how dangerous Undermountain can be, because it is really freaking dangerous down there. And that was part of having 20 parties, was as they would find the bodies of people in Undermountain, I would make them members of some of the other parties. So it's kind of fitting that I had one that got fully wiped out. But then I realized I left myself with too many unanswered questions. Where were they that they got wiped out? I didn't have an answer for her in the moment of what creature it was that had wiped them out. But I had given her an idea of like there was something that like messed with your mind, and you could barely hold on to the memories. So, of course, mind goes to mind flayers. And I was like, well, let me think. They were randomly chosen by Hallister, a la like Portal style. Congratulations, you're the experiment. And so Hallister just picked the Order of the Pillar, which was Torxina's party, to test out a new area of Undermountain that was under construction. And I was like, there's a cool idea. And so I had come up with this idea that eventually there would be an area that, lead off, because there's a bunch of areas that lead off to extended dungeon areas. And one would lead over to where they would find the remains of Torxina's party. Then I started talking with Chesh about it. And
as often happens when he starts talking to me, things got out of hand very quickly.
Very quickly. So I started talking with Chesh about it, and he was like, what would be cool if you actually like made a level of Undermountain. You should make your own. I was like, I'd love to, but that's, it does take a lot of work, and I already have a lot of adventure to go through. But as often happens,
see what happens, guys.
We're going level by level by level in here, and we're getting closer to the end, and things are getting more interesting. Torxina's asking questions. We're on level 19. We're on level 20. We haven't found the Order of the Pillar yet. Where are they? And I'm like, I like this idea of making my own level. So I grabbed several different story beats from the book. A story beat, which I will not spoil for everyone, about the nature of Undermountain and one of Hallister's apprentices. If you're a DM, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, then you'll eventually find out in our series if you continue to watch it. And then I took an area that was of interest to me that I thought was pretty cool. And then I took this idea that Chesh had come up with for, what would be a cool theme for a dungeon level? And we kind of spitballed back and forth, and we settled on a abyssal sea. And that, on the shores of that abyssal sea, is where Torxina's party met their end. Which would make sense, because Torxina's party, like the rest of the starting parties, entered the dungeon when they were between 4th and 6th level. Supposed to be entering at 5th. That means that Hallister opened a gate and allowed a 4th through 6th level adventuring party down into an area that was so deep and dark that they were fighting encounters that were meant for 16th to 17th level characters. In world, he doesn't know what the challenge rating of a monster is. But he's like, let me grab these adventurers and see if this place is as dangerous as I think it is. Oh yeah, they got chewed up. Woo!
Yeah, because Hallister's a real son of a bitch, like George R.R. Martin.
Yes. Yep. Except that Hallister could actually finish writing his fucking books.
Ayo!
Torxina was the only survivor of a party that had been effectively tossed into the deep end. So we started creating what I like to call Undermountain Layer 19.5, Hallister's Abyssal Sea. And we are now coming up on the point where they're going to enter Hallister's Abyssal Sea in the active game. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And they will finally figure out what happened to the other members of Torxina's party. And it's it's been a lot of fun crafting that, and having Chesh come in from the side and be like, hey, it would be cool if you made your entire own level as a way to leave your stamp on Undermountain. And I was like, that would be really cool. I like it.
What activities do each member of the Best Available do when they're not dungeon delving, treasure hunting, and slaying monsters and villains?
All right. So Natalia probably plans the downfall of all those who have ever wronged her.
Mm-hmm.
Would be my guess.
Yep.
Ara probably considers the possibilities before her and makes decisions on what she is going to do next while worshipping Hecate. Bethaniel probably worries a lot.
Worries is a big one, yeah.
And then watches Angela to make sure she's not getting herself into trouble while he's not paying attention.
Yep.
And then whenever he's doing anything else, worries about Angela getting herself into trouble while he's not paying attention.
Yep. Tobias probably dreams of grandiose adventures and achievements that he has yet to even come close to having. If I had to guess.
Yep, studies his magic and imagines how amazingly powerful he will be.
Imagines being the next Iliad Days. And Valatha probably just plays music, chills out, talks to songbirds as they flit through her window.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I can see that.
Angela probably just helps around the house.
I can believe that.
If she's not adventuring, which is rare, because she's quite committed to that, and making a name for herself, clearing her father's name and whatnot.
She's dedicated to it, all right. I think she's probably the only one that has a family to visit at home, other than Tobias, but they're a dimension away, a plane. And Bethaniel has his mom, but things are a little there.
Complicated.
At least for the time being. If TBA got transported into the real world, what jobs would each of them have to take to make ends meet? Do you have a canonical job for modern AU Angie?
Not really. She was a student so far.
Not fair enough.
A university student without an actual, career just yet.
Many such cases. I could see Bethaniel being a distinctly unhelpful customer service representative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh my god.
Is that crazy to say?
That is funny.
He would make a fantastic librarian.
True, he would, yeah.
Yep, that would probably be his dream job.
Natalie would be like a cop or something.
God, yeah, no, she's...
She'd get so many complaints.
She really would. Natalia would get fired from the police force, is what I actually think I'm going to go with.
Yeah. Thing is, Angie would actually make a great cop, I think, but the realities of the job would really gnaw on her. So.
Yeah. And then Ara, probably like a nurse or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that she strikes me as the kind of person who would become a doctor and then join like Doctors Without Borders.
Yeah, she'd do like charity work or something.
Yep.
Tobias would probably try to get famous, like being like an internet influencer and then not succied.
Nah, I think he would succeed. He's got that flash. He's got that panache.
Yeah, you think so? Maybe
he would end up like Piff on in Las Vegas, who is an amazing performer of magic.
Yeah, and also
Piff the Magic Dragon.
He wouldn't even have to commission like a VTuber persona. He just puts himself on a webcam. Oh my gosh.
True.
Becomes a magic VTuber.
Velatha, and I'm not taking any critique on this. Velatha's unemployed. Busking on the streets.
Unemployed, still makes ends meet.
Yeah, she like
Just
couch
busking.
surfers, busks on the street, like just randomly gets into parties and people are like, oh yeah, you should open for my band. And she's like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Opens for their band, leaves town. People are like, who was that person who did that opening run? No idea, man. I just like met her at a party, bro.
Like that would 100% be how she gets around.
1000%, dude.
I'd also see her as a real-life bard, like those you see in like the old town of Montreal or the historical Quebec City.
The question was about the real world, though, and neither Canada or France are part of that, unfortunately.
Oh no, I've been found out.
Okay. John Boy, this is your favorite part. John Boy specific questions.
Oh god.
How did you get started putting together the Tales from the Table comic? Like, what was the story behind it at the beginning?
Well, all the blame goes to ForeverDM.
Yep,
As always.
it's my fault.
Because, yes, we've heard stories of him running games. We became peanuts watching his games. And
That was the way that the interest started in playing D&D for John Boy and Comrade Wolf, was watching me run other games. They were like, man, this is so much fun.
And also that rekindled my interest in it. Because from my earlier years, when I was, a young teen and whatnot, I played things like Eye of the Beholder on the Amiga. And later on, it was the Neverwinter Nights. Those were my big exposures to the Forgotten Realms setting, which I grew to absolutely adore. And the research, escalated from there. It kept going. I started reading about all of it again. It would be nice to draw something. Imagine adventures in that setting. So I adapted a character I had from a previous story, which was, set in modern day on Earth. What would she be like, if she was a character in Forgotten Realms? And that's how Angela Hawthorne came to be. And the first episodes of Tales from the Tables were basically one-shot gags, making fun of just the common TTRPG tropes.
Yep.
But then slowly but surely, it evolved. Grew into a story, characters got developed, the story got developed, which is pretty much what happens to an actual D&D campaign. It starts with shenanigans, and then it's all sorts of tragedy and heartbreak.
Yeah, it was wild because originally Doodle Poodle was just, one of the players. And one of the things that he decided that he wanted to do was, as we were doing the games, he was like, oh, I want to bring these scenes to life, so I'm going to do a picture for every one of our games that we play. And then that turned into, well, hey, those would go really well with the videos that maybe someday I'll make. And then after hearing all the D&D stories and stuff like that, he's like, oh, that would make a really good comic page. And then it was all downhill from there, man. Straight into the comic book production.
Yeah, because both our media started, influencing each other. Because the first episode came out just before we started our session 0, I think.
Yep.
And it was the cross-contamination when the cross-influence. Ideas from one making it into the other and vice versa. It
was art imitates art, and then it imitates the art that it imitated, and then they just keep going back and forth until you're like, wait, how did we get here?
Yep.
What advice would you give artists or writers who have been inspired by your work, John Boy?
That's another tough one, because I'm a horrible teacher. But the main thing it boils down to is just practice, 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 and have fun with it. Enjoy doing so. Just draw for fun. Don't worry about it not being perfect. Our own, low self-esteem is our biggest enemy.
Oh yeah, you are your own worst critic at all times.
Yeah, and for many people, unfortunately, it holds them back from drawing. I can't draw something as good as I would like, or I can't draw something as good as that artist I follow. Don't worry about that. At all. It's not an issue. If you keep doing something, you'll keep getting better at it. You don't have to have some kind of a talent you're born with. It doesn't happen that way. Just have fun. Draw in the margins. Doodle things during lunch break. Doodle things during a boring lecture. And you'll be surprised when you look back how you improve.
I think honestly the biggest driving force, especially as a writer, is to just immerse yourself in your love of storytelling. Find cool stories, find ways to make them make sense, find ways to bring a kind of consistency to them that brings them to life. Even your stories can be as dire and realistic as Game of Thrones, or it can be as fanciful and wild as the books of Xanth or the Chronicles of Amber. But there's a binding together of just making an immersive environment for you to enjoy. And if you make one of those, people will enjoy it, and people includes you. And if you are having fun crafting a narrative, if you are having fun drawing a picture, if you are having fun making a recording, then you are already like 80% of the way there. The other 20% of people getting interested and liking it and spreading it and it becoming popular is often just a matter of chance. So just do the things you like, and if you do it consistently, if you find that you really do enjoy it and you have a passion for it, then just keep going. It will eventually pick up.
Yeah, I think a good intermediate stepping stone for that is fan comics, for something that you like and enjoy. During my recent visit to my parents' house back in Poland, I went over my shelves there and I found comics I drew as a kid that I completely forgot about. So I had this full sketchbook filled with a fan comic for Goltar and the Golden Lands. And as I think back now, oh god, I even used to draw gummy bears and their adventures and comics. And yeah, my early contact with the fantasy setting was the frickin' gummy bears. Don't judge me.
Hey man, they were pretty cool. They bounced here, they bounced there, they bounced everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
I think what it all boils down to is whatever sort of art you're creating, focus less on, oh my god, how can I improve? How can I make sure that I'm honing my craft and growing towards the future? Just make what you love, and your passion for making what you love will drive you to do all the practice that you need. But without that passion, you're going to burn out on the practice, and you'll never make anything to begin with.
That's why you got to intersperse your practice with making stuff for fun.
Moving on from that, here's the next question. Would you ever do illustration streams, be it for the comic or outside of it?
Illustration streams.
Like drawing on a live stream.
I was considering that, but I'm quite self-conscious of how messy my approach is, because I've seen other people's streams and they're just so streamlined and organized, and I freaking jump all over the place, and I can't, stay doing one single meticulous thing for too long. I need to alt tab, look at something, go back, do another 5 minutes. I'll tap back
You're an
to
ADD
this
child
guy.
like me.
Yeah, go back to this guy disassembling a freaking LT1 with a spun bearing, just for the the sounds, the ASMR of it.
The
Yeah.
catharsis of doing and listening to something else for a minute, decompressing your brain, and then coming back to it.
Yeah. So I don't think it will be such a good watching experience for others. That's my worry, unfortunately.
The next question is, what's it like to do a campaign with your original character? Like how Angela Hawthorne started as Angie in that original OC universe. Like, there's some more history there.
Part of the fun was establishing her, alternate incarnation, on a different planet, a different era. And what would she be like? Her backstory, which,
Especially with
of course-
rolling up your background in.
yeah, that
casting.
was fantastic. You using that book you have, so much fun. Such random stuff came up, and a lot of the time I was like, no, this is terrible. This doesn't fit. Like, what's with this breaking the law? What's with this piracy thing? And then, you know what? If I just mash it here, shape it there, stretch it there a little bit, that makes for an amazing story, and it also fits the lore of the setting so well. That was great. So creating, her D&D incarnation was a fantastic journey and just a pure joy. And playing her feels great. It feels amazing, other than, of course, the freaking dread of, oh my gosh, all the danger, oh my gosh, I don't want something bad to happen to her, but that also makes the victory that much more exciting.
I would say ultimately the biggest thing about bringing an original character in is to ensure that they mesh with the world that is being run. For some people, taking a anime character straight out of whether it's One Piece or Naruto, or taking a video game character like Sonic the Hedgehog, or whatever it is that is your inspiration, or even your own original character that you have a bunch of lore about. The hardest part is going to be to temper your expectations, because remember, this is a cooperative storytelling experience with several other people. And the ultimate thing that is the most important, and it is more important than you and your concept, it's more important than any of the other players, and it's more important than the Dungeon Master, is Rule 0. We all know the value of Rule 0. Try to keep in your mind that you want everyone to have fun. DM, players, admins, watchers, fans, lurkers, especially yourself. Make sure that you are trying to foster an environment where everybody is having fun. So if you see something in your character that might clash with and cause others to have potentially less fun, that can ruin the fun for the DM.
Exactly. This being a role-playing experience, immersion is, crucially important for most people. So if you're bringing in a character that's already established in another setting, well, it's not that exact character. You're creating like an alternate incarnation of them.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite conversations with Chesh. If I can go over that for a second.
For sure.
I'm gonna directly quote you.
Okay.
If someone wants to play Naruto, sorry, I should do it in the right voice. If someone wants to
Shut
play Naruto,
up, dude. It's way higher than that.
Yeah, I can't get that high. If someone wants to play Naruto, literally Naruto and nothing less than Naruto, whatever. Change the name, maybe slightly alter design, but describe the character as they appear to you. Naruto to Guy X may be a notably different character to Guy Y because fiction is subjective. If you describe Naruto how you see him, to me, I might not even fucking recognize it's Naruto. That's what owning a character is. Transferring it to your own mind, your own ideas and impressions, where you see yourself in a character. Most of the characters I make rely heavily on other characters and archetypes and personal experiences. All creation is plagiarism at first. You just have to digest it and spit out something with your DNA. You can take a character that is 100% from a setting, but you get too obsessed on wanting to play exactly the canon character. And unless you are able to perfectly mimic the original writer of that character, you can't play the same character. You're going to diverge. And that's a good thing. Because you have taken that concept that inspires you and made it your own. So feel free to do a couple of other things with that as well to make it your own, because you're not ruining it. You're just modifying it. Everybody has the ideas of the, muscle-bound warrior, the barbarian, whether big and dumb or skilled survivalist. Everyone would love to play Aragorn. Aragorn was so cool.
Absolutely.
Such a cool character. But you don't have to play exactly Aragorn.
When you quoted me, that was bars. I forgot I said like half of that.
Yeah. No, it was good. And that it really struck me as the perfect way to describe how to make that modification. How to help someone who really wants to play that character just succeed at playing that character as much as they want, but still be able to integrate and have fun and do the thing.
Next question. John Boy, how many hidden Easter eggs have been put in the comics? I already know you're not going to be able to give an exact number, so I would just say throw off some off the top of your head that you can remember. Some of your favorites.
Unless you do have an exact number, which would be hilarious.
That would be really funny.
How many? Yes.
No, there are so many in each one, man.
I can't remember. There's no way I'll even remember all of them now.
I would say I think that there is probably between 3 and 6 Easter eggs in every comic that you release.
Not every, I would say, because some are, like...
Yeah, I guess some of them aren't hidden, like the Predator reference and stuff like that isn't really hidden. That's obvious, but it's
there are some... But there are some episodes that are, very, personal character moments. There's nothing really there. But otherwise, if I have an opportunity to fill a crowd, like patrons in a tavern, bystanders on a street, audience sitting in the bleachers of the Field of Triumph, for example, during the festival there, you can rest assured I'm going to fill in with like characters from other parties, for example.
I still can't believe that you have managed to slip past everybody that there is a tiny Goku in every page.
Sorry,
hell will freeze over before I draw anything from Dragon Ball. Come on,
dude. That's a
Chesh reference.
Yeah,
that's Chesh deep lore.
I hide a PNG of Goku in every video I make, and no one's commented on it yet. And it's just it's really funny to me.
And now everybody will look closely.
I've said it in videos, but like people just like don't care. It's really like nobody's gone like, why is fucking Goku there? Which makes it even funnier when like Goku is like replacing the ammo box in the UI of a video game for a solid 30 seconds, and nobody says a word.
And nobody even notices.
It's so good, dude.
It is hilarious.
But yeah, references to characters from other parties, characters from other webcomics, characters from established fantasy-themed franchises, because that's fun to spot them. If somebody wants to bother to look at the high-resolution version of my doodles, which I greatly appreciate, by the way, and they find those little things and they have fun pointing them out, hey, I'm glad. I love it.
Hell yeah, man. All right, so that is all of the questions for you, John Boy. The rest of them are for the FDM, but I'm going to read this one very long comment we got, so you can hear it, because it's written to all of the characters in TBA, including Angela.
Okay.
It goes, Angela, thank you for being who you are. You've been the compass that points the party and keeps them steady, mostly by convincing party members not to murder people, and the way you fight is truly the most noble. I've known men like your father, and I know he is proud of you.
Aww.
Bethaniel, thank you for being a part of the party. Neither of your 2 adventuring groups would be the same without you. Maybe you don't speak as much as other people, but you don't have to. You are like the soul of the party, silent but always there.
Lovely.
Natalia, you've been wandering around the city for quite a while now without the rest of your party. I can only assume you've been fighting cultist assassins from the cult you left. Please use the coffee and magic book to the best of your abilities. P.S. Throw the book at an assassin's face.
Nice.
That's gotta happen now.
Ara, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Ara? I'm just kidding. I added that part.
Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?
Are you okay? My bro keeps bringing up how you were the brave one who spoke to the barkeeper first, but after that you never talked anymore. He said you failed that social interaction so hard that you wouldn't be social anymore, but I don't think so. But I thought I would ask since he has a point or two. I don't even know what this is. Anyway.
He was the first person to go up to Durnan and
No,
talk
I
to
know
him.
that, but like the lore of like the speaker's brother, I don't know any of this, but anyway.
Yep.
Tobias, I wish you the best of luck on your way to your quest to become one of the best wizards ever. I also understand why that is so important to you. Coming from an extremely large family, I'm sure it was hard for you to be noticed, so you need the praise of others, so you can fill the hole in you and be seen. I think if you worked harder on the bonds with the other members of your party, tried your best to be a close and good friend to them, and accept that even the best friendships have rough patches, then you'll find that your party and you will become an even more powerful wizard than if you had just focused on that alone. Just like how rockets can reach space by shooting for the stars just above the horizon line, not the ones just above them. By putting your friends first, you'll achieve your goals even better than if you had been aiming straight for them. This commenter has connected deeply emotionally with Tobias's experience.
Yeah, definitely. And to be fair, I think that in the end, he did become one of the best wizards of all time.
Yeah, he definitely achieved some great things.
Yep.
And Velatha, good luck. You'll need it to be part of this rowdy and chaotic group. Don't forget to take your turn in the spotlight too. You're a member of the best available. You can take center stage too. What class is the FDM in character?
Oh, because he has been a creation for so long, I'm going to use the old style levels. So the ForeverDM would be, I'd say, 21st level fighter, 30th level wizard with a specialty in conjuration magic, and then probably 8th level thief and 15th level cleric with a divine rank of 3.
That all sounds very powerful in contexts I'm not aware of.
A lot of the way that gods used to be statted was they had multiple different classes at differing levels, depending on what kind of god they were, and different specializations. And then they had a divine rank, which basically told you where they were in the pantheon.
Yeah.
That used to be one of our sayings back in the day, was all I want for Christmas is divine rank 0. Because divine rank 0 makes you immortal, makes you able to just, when you would roll a d20, you could just choose to have a 20 on the die.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, like it gives a bunch of great benefits.
All right. Next question is, what made you want to become a DM?
Honestly, it's how much I love stories. I love telling them, I love reading them, I love experiencing them. They're just fun. Telling stories and showing people the kind of adventures that they're going to really enjoy is a driving force for me. And I love it. I love everything about it.
Hell yeah. I know, I became a DM because I didn't have a choice. Because I had a cool idea for a campaign, and no one else was going to fucking do it, so I had to. So there, you just find yourself behind the DM screen, and it's like, well, here we go. It is really fun, though. More fun than I expected, to be honest.
It is a blast. And considering the fact of how you can't seem to stop making games.
Oh, God, yeah. It's a problem. I have like 4 lined up, man. Anyway, what was the first D&D game you DM'd for?
The first D&D game that I DM'd for was I ran Zanzertem's Dungeon for myself, my mom, and the NPC in the module named Axel. And like I said, I was in 7th grade on the carpeted floor of our apartment, and our miniatures were these little folded out paper pieces with cool artwork on them.
First game I DM'd was a game I ran for my friends that I made up. It was a homebrew setting, and they were all dwarves, and they had to go find some missing miners. And it was meant to be a one-shot, and instead lasted like 4 or 5 sessions over the course of a year and a half. But we finally finished it, and I actually have it all recorded, and we'll probably make a video series out of it at some point.
That's the hope. I want to see it.
Yeah, it's very shitposty, but a lot of fun.
A lot of D&D games are.
Yeah.
Not everybody plays a serious, rugged, Lord of the Rings style adventure game. Some people play a wacky tavern adventure where they never end up leaving that tavern except to make jokes about going to the outhouse. Like, it takes all kinds, and as long as everybody is having fun, then everybody's having fun.
What was the first campaign, no matter the edition, that you completed, and did it end in victory or defeat?
The first campaign that I was able to actually complete was Storm King's Thunder in 5th edition.
Whoa.
I had never actually completed a campaign before that. The party always fell apart, whether I was a player or a DM. Eventually, it would just take long enough that we would lose enough people that before we could get to the climax of the adventure, the party would dissolve. And it was always a very sad moment, but I had, over the years, I had kind of just gotten used to that was the reality. Most parties just don't have the staying power to actually get all the way through it. And when I started running Storm King's Thunder, I had started with the idea that was probably what was going to happen. But everyone in the party was dedicated to making sure that they completed the campaign. And though we did lose people and swap out a couple of people along the way, we ended the campaign with 4 of the original 6 players. And the players who did have to leave because of differences in schedules or moving and things like that were always very supportive of hey, find somebody to replace me, continue on, use my character as an NPC, take their stuff, and do it, complete it, stop the giants. That was a life-changing experience finishing Storm King's Thunder. Because it proved that it could be done. Because, back in the day, probably in the 1980s, sure, completing a campaign was probably a thing that happened pretty often because Dungeons and Dragons groups back then were pretty insular. A lot of the people from back then didn't have a whole lot more going on in their lives other than D&D. That was the thing that brought them together. The things that they liked to do were the people that they surrounded themselves with. If you liked football, you hung out with football people. If you liked billiards, you hung out with billiard people. If you liked to be a goth, you hung out with all the goths. And you probably played Vampire the Masquerade. If you liked to play D&D, then you hung out in your mom's basement yelling, "Where are the Cheetos?" and grabbing a Mountain Dew out of the fridge. That was your friend group. And as we transitioned into my childhood, things had shifted a lot. Because, when I was growing up was the time when computers were starting to become a bigger thing. The internet was starting to be birthed into existence as this Wild West. So people started having a lot of other things to do and a lot of other ways to find things that they were interested in. So it was harder to find people who would stick together for that long because you could get pulled away not only by life changes, but just by the natural progression of things. So finally finishing that was a massive one. And we are going to finish the Dungeon of the Mad Mage this year for the best available.
Yeah.
There is no world where we don't finish it unless I like keel over and die. And even then, if I do, I am sure that someone is going to grab the module and be like, "We'll complete this for Corwin." And
yeah, I want you to know, if you die, I will finish TBA. I will.
Yeah.
I promise. That is a solemn oath.
I want a in memory of the Forever DM with a picture of my fat self smiling with the Dorito bag.
If you ever die and I still run the server and we're still making the series, I will have Chesh put on the blue-purple robe.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we're going to finish Dungeon of the Mad Mage this year, and that is going to be the second full campaign that I have finished. And this one is a 1 to 20 campaign. Because I think Storm King's Thunder is supposed to end at 12. I ended it at 14 because they did a lot of extra stuff, a lot of side content, which also worried me because there's so many side quests. It's like fucking Skyrim in there, and it's like playing Skyrim with 6 players. So, but they got through all of it, and it was amazing. And I look forward to seeing the end of the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. It will be
me too, man.
It will be a hard day, knowing that these years have come to an end. I don't know what I'm gonna do with my Saturdays. Probably run another game.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest. That's probably where I'm gonna do Phandelver and Below.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited about that.
It's gonna be very cool to be able to do the same kind of thing for the Best Available that I did for the Heroes of the North, which is to sit down and do a postscript, an epilogue.
Yep.
Your characters go on to do this. And this is where you are. This is your place in the world now. And the world has permanently changed because of your actions.
Here's the next question.
All
With the Best Available as your launch series, what were your initial expectations or anticipations when the campaign was first proposed? Did you expect it to run this long?
Like I said, I had spent a long time seeing games fall by the wayside and get canceled. There were a few times that were difficult in TBA, especially early on, because we started with a party of 4. 4 close friends, 2 people who were partners, and then 2 people who were partners, and then me. So I got to be the 5th wheel, I guess?
A double date and a 5th wheel is how the fucking campaign started.
Yeah, a double date and a 5th wheel. And so initially when we lost Ara and Natalia, that was hard because Nala and Doodle Poodle wanted to keep going. And so did I. But, I didn't have an expectation of where we could get more people. But we had friends. We had some people who we had, that was around when we had just met Nat. And she had her gaming group of friends, which is where Velatha came from. There is a point where we took a while off. It was a month, almost 2, where we didn't have a game. And it was this might be the way that it ends. And I even cautioned John Boy, this is how it goes sometimes. Maybe you don't go the entire ride, but, you go until the ride stops. Then people were interested in keeping it going. It was like you're riding on a roller coaster and you're like, well, I'm going to ride this until the ride stops. And then it goes through one loop and stops at the bottom. And you're like, oh, crap. And then somebody, comes up to the side of the tracks and is like, hey, come over here. And somebody else comes up to the other side and they both grab on and start pushing to get you to the next down slope. And then they jump in with you and you start sliding down and you get through another loop. And you're going along and having the weight of 4 people on there is now helping. And then you get a 5th and then you get a 6th. And you're like, now we're going, man. Now this is pod racing.
Yep.
And since then, it has been a steady yeehaw as we're ripping through corners and all manner of madness.
Yep.
We've had characters die. We've had players leave. We've had players come and replace them. We've had people who had their characters die make new characters. We've had them migrate to other games and swap with other people. It's been crazy.
Yeah, it's been a ride. All right. what is your favorite setting to run?
Oh,
Deep cuts?
this is gonna mess with some people probably. I apologize, Doodle Poodle. My favorite setting to run is not Forgotten Realms. I know that your favorite is Forgotten Realms, and I do love Forgotten Realms, and it has grown on me so much. It used to be Planescape, because I really, really liked Planescape. It was wild, but that was back when Planescape was like wild and dark. You know, it was going through a portal was scary. The modern Planescape stuff is kind of more filled with whimsy. It feels a lot more connected to wackiness, especially with like the Spelljammer stuff and things like that. It's not really like dark, gritty.
Yeah.
It's more like go into a Feywild style adventure. And I like those too. They're fun. The Feywild adventure portions that we did in TBA were great. But my personal favorite is OD&D. I really love Mystara. I just like how the narrative comes together around you just by using the exploration rule. You have a biome that you're traveling through, and you describe the area to the players and what time of year it is, and you have your random encounter, and you build a narrative around that, or you have a dungeon that you're traveling to, or an ancient city that you want to visit. It's such a wide open area, and what makes it the most fun for me is the power level is so much different. Playing 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons is a lot of fun, and there's a lot of crazy cool customizations and stuff like that. The backgrounds and things like that are great, and they bring a lot of depth to the characters. You used to have to, custom build that depth yourself. That was part of making your PC. But your reach in 5th edition will never be as far as your reach in older editions, because the power of the things you could find is so different. It's great. You get access to spells in 5th edition like Fireball, and you're like, my god, this spell is so cool. But then you look at Fireball from the old edition, and you're like, wait a minute, 1d6 per level, maximum 20? Hold on, most people are rolling a d6 for hit points. That means I do my level worth of hit points in damage to people. So unless they rolled high, or I roll poorly, or unless they have a con bonus, God help them if they have a con penalty, I am wielding true power. The magic items that you can find are potentially life-changing for entire civilizations. Or they might just be really good for you and really cool and amazing. Your flaming sword, or your short sword that can heal your allies with a touch. But you also have the same thing on the other side. You can have a random encounter with a dragon that could just annihilate you, and it puts the fear into you a little bit, where you are a little nervous, and I think that adds to the victory so much that makes Mystara my favorite setting to run in. There are people who have moved things over and done like conversion books to where you could play 5th edition in the world of Mystara. I just feel like you should just play OD&D.
You feel like the mechanics of OD&D is inherent to the lore of the world on some level.
Yeah. Yep. It really is just tied in. This is the way.
I don't think I have a favorite setting to run in. I think my favorite setting to run in is whatever progresses me towards my larger goal in the future of the stories I am tying together. Because it really doesn't matter to me where the story is. What matters is how many pieces I can snag on the same contrived knot of plot threads to make everything work together in perfect unison, like a accidentally perfectly calibrated machine where all the pieces integrate. You know what I mean? I don't care if it's Forgotten Realms. I don't care if it's Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Dark Souls. I don't care. I just want everything to meet You know what I mean?
You don't care where the story is. You just care that the story is.
Exactly. Right now, I have a lot of irons in the fire when it comes to the lore of Forgotten Realms, so I'm very, very interested in all of that nonsense. But I have a lot of ideas for homebrew settings from fiction I want to rip off, settings from fiction that have their own tabletop RPG that I want to run at some point. I'm very interested in... Ooh, actually, I don't want to say that because I actually want to keep it a surprise when I run. I don't even want to tell the people what the world they're in. But I have a lot of plans. I guess I'm an addict towards stories in general. I'm a dick as well,
too.
but I'm an addicted dick to the stories that I can make. And whatever setting gives me the tools to bring elements from the past or carry elements into the future, that's what makes me fun. The background world building and the openness of it, where the setting itself isn't railroaded one direction or another. And Forgotten Realms does that incredibly well. All right, next question. If you could run a game with any D&D YouTubers, authors, TTRPG adjacent celebrities, who would be at that table? I imagine Ed Greenwood is a shoo-in.
Yeah, Ed Greenwood is definitely a shoo-in. If he would ever be interested in actually being at a table for a full game, then I would snatch that up real fast. God, I would love to sit down and play with Matt Mercer as a player, because I would like to show him this is the way that I feel that it works, and I would like to see him take that experience and go, interesting. And I would love to hear his feedback on maybe why I shouldn't run it that way, because I would like that. I would very much enjoy that, because I like that feedback. Oh God, I'm trying to remember the Dimension 20 cast.
Brennan Lee Mulligan is the DM of Dimension 20 a lot of the time.
Yeah, I really, really like him.
Me too.
He's
Dude,
really good.
I would kill to play with Zach Oyama. That guy is insane. He drops the most sleeper plans I've ever seen in my life, dude. He is a very, very special person.
The Dungeon Dudes. They're the guys who made Dungeon of Drakenheim. It's Kelly McLaughlin and Monty Martin. I could not imagine having a bad game with them at the table.
Yeah.
Because they are all about having a blast. And so is, Matt Mercer. So is all the other people that we've talked about. And to cap it off, I would step aside from the DM seat for either Ed Greenwood or my next pick. But I would also love to run for Matt Colville. Matt Colville is a god. He is the creator of MCDM and has made the Strongholds and Followers,
yep,
and things like that. That is absolutely amazing.
For me, I'd love to play with all the people you just mentioned. Obviously, I would also really like the chance to play with the people who, the McElroys, who made the Adventure Zone, because, it's... That got me into D&D. That would be a really surreal experience. There's also a channel of a guy who just talks about running D&D. It's called The Deficient Master, and he's really funny, and he has really, really great ideas. Our philosophies of DMing line up pretty well, and he's created a homebrew hybrid system combining a lot of mechanics from different books, including Dungeon Crawl Classics and some other books I can't remember the names of, but he's stolen a magic system from a game that's all about magic, and then a dungeon crawling system from a game that's all about dungeon crawling, and merged them into this beautiful monstrous Frankenstein. And I want to play that game so bad. It looks so cool, man. Obviously, the Dimension 20 crew is fantastic. It's hard to not have a great time playing with improv comedians.
If we're also including tubers, give me Joe Cat and Pointy Hat, please.
I'd also like RuneSmith.
Both amazing people that I think I could have a massive amount of fun with. They're so creative.
Agreed.
God, it's good.
There's also just some random, completely non-D&D people that I love to play with. Video Game Donkey. Actually, no, this is a dream table. Okay, Video Game Donkey played in an old a campaign a while back with some guy I can't even remember. I can't remember the other players. He played a character called the Goker. And he was like an alligator who was the Joker, and he just kept drinking all the health potions while he was at full health because they tasted good or something. Like, it was ridiculous. But also, the crew over at Second Wind, which used to be the Escapist, Yahtzee Croshaw, you might know from Zero Punctuation.
Nope, I watch his videos regularly.
Yeah, they have a D&D campaign over there, and
what?
Yeah, and it's fully animated in the Zero Punctuation style, dude.
Okay, you actually have to send that to me. That
yes,
I will watch.
It's pretty fucking funny. I would love to play with that crew. Their sense of humor is fantastic, and their stories are just nuts.
God.
Yeah, it's called the series is called Adventure is Nigh.
That is so good.
And it's fully animated like his reviews are, but with like background art and everything. It's actually so good. Also, I forgot to say this in the actual recording. This is editor Chesh. Z Bashu, the GOAT. I love you, man. XO. What does the Forever DM like to do when in the faded real world? Follow-up question, is grass real? Too much snow on my end to determine.
In the real world? Let me see. I do a lot of planning for campaigns, obviously. My Steam list has 1,450 games. Back when I used to not do this for a living, I worked in information technology, so I had disposable income, and that went into video games a lot. So I have a humongous library that I'll never get through. A lot of people share that sentiment. But it's fun. I like movies and TV shows just as much as everybody else. I don't watch as much of it recently because I really like interactive stuff, and there are so many games. So I interact with that a lot. Grass is real. Going out and touching it is a thing that I do on occasion, and is a lot of fun. But it is nice every once in a while to outside. If it's not covered in snow, touch the grass. If it is covered in snow, throw like one snowball. Remember how cold and wet snow becomes when you interact with it, and then flee back into the safety of my den. Well, I say den, but it's like I don't actually have a den. I'm not rich enough for that crap.
Yet!
Hey, who knows? As long as I keep creating stuff.
By the way, support us on Patreon.
Yeah, seriously. That'd be great.
All right. Next up, what are some of your favorite quotes from your games?
Oh, yeah. We have a whole channel for that.
Oh,
yeah. We have a channel in the server called Quotables. Here's some of the really, really good ones. So at one point, someone had made cookies using aberrant extraplanar ingredients, and Hadari was there. He tried one of the cookies, and Hadari specifically is a ranger who hunts aberrations. So I described the aberrant cookies and how they tasted, and it was awful. And the other people were like, "Well, I mean, it does taste odd, but it doesn't taste like bad." And Hadari's response was, "Oh, these are diet cookies," and that made everybody put the cookies down. That was such a good one. Dante, so I'm not a doctor, but if we stoke the flames of my armor, would it just cauterize them off? Bethaniel, no, you're clearly not a doctor. Hadari pulls out a torch in anticipation. No! Bethaniel shoving the torch away. When Dante turns to Torxina and says, "All right, Torxina, you ready to ride the Dante Express?" Because he was going to carry her. And then just everybody just dead silence for like 10 seconds.
God damn.
And I just said, that didn't come out right at all, did it? We were talking about a monster having advantage to hit Dante, and I believe Nala was going to like slap him with a healing spell. Bethaniel was going to reach over and heal him. And when I was talking about the monster having advantage, Nala said, "I'll take advantage of Dante." Wait, no, not like that.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Dante bursting into a room. "Hello there, I've come upon you."
Oh no!
Like one of them even became its own meme on the level with all the trolls that would pop into existence, and anything would happen, and Zacharias would just turn to the party and say, "I'm not saying it's trolls,
but it's trolls."
Hadari shot him so hard that the last thing that went through his mind was his ass. Aberrations are people too, Hadari said derogatorily. That was from before you even joined the game.
With all the twists and turns in these campaigns, what's your favorite long con or plot twist? I think his favorite probably hasn't come yet.
Yep.
But what's the best one that has already been revealed?
The best one that has already been revealed was when I revealed that I was running 2 Dungeon of the Mad Mage campaigns at the same time, one of which is obviously good, and the other one of which is morally gray. And after the best available went out of their way to destroy the Xanathar and bring down his organization, one of the party members from the Order of the Cobalt Flame went out of their way to raise the Xanathar because they were loyal to him. And that has had so many repercussions. As a certain famous author would say, this has made a lot of people very angry and has been widely regarded as a bad move. But it was later revealed to shock people even more that despite going to the same dungeon, and despite some of the same effects leaking over onto each other, the best available and the Order of the Cobalt Flame are not in the same world.
Dun dun dun.
So there have been some timeline shenanigans going on around the portals in Hallister's dungeon that have really made some things wild. And one of the other parties, their entire adventure into Storm King's Thunder is based around that split timeline plot, which has brought a whole thing in. So it really derailed the entire relationship between a lot of the players in TBA and TCF.
Yeah.
Because of them resurrecting the Xanathar. But then TBA finds out, wait, no, the Xanathar is still dead in our timeline. What? But he's alive in theirs? Hold on, what is going on? And so it really, really threw people off. It switched tracks and then it switched tracks again, and they're like, what's going on? What's real? Yeah, I guess you'll find out when you finally get out of the dungeon.
Yep.
Like when they bring a pair of NPCs out of the dungeon to the surface and the NPCs just fade from existence. Like Marty McFly. That was a good twist.
Yeah, it was. Have you ever had a successful divine intervention at your table? And if so,
yes,
what happened?
I actually have had a successful divine intervention. Spellweaver's Council had a cleric that was played by Nat, known as Joy. She was a satyr who worshipped a particular goddess out of Theros. Interesting D&D world, considering it's based on the Magic the Gathering stuff. But she did have a divine intervention. They were attempting to defend a town from the followers of the Murder King, Tymora. His followers were just cutting their way through all of these peaceful worshippers of the goddess of the woodlands and the hunt. And she called for divine intervention. Let me just say, there was a lot of healing that got dished out. People were saved. Plants overgrew, protecting those who were brought back from bleeding out on the ground from the assaults of others. And she rose into the sky on wings of fire and let the followers of Tymora have it. Unfortunately, that divine spark did end up getting snuffed out at a point in the combat when one of her closest companions and lover, Xandathos, had his head removed from his shoulders by Tymoret's blade. That struck her quite deeply. And though the party was still successful in defeating Tymora, it was a powerful moment. And the divine intervention does go off. You just gotta keep rolling for it. It's not a high chance, but there's always a chance.
There's always a chance. All right. Which level of Undermountain has been your favorite to run?
Oh, I think my favorite level to run so far, I think it was definitely the obstacle course.
Teleported.
The obstacle course was a great level because this will be actually a revelation to the two of you. In the book, there is no timer.
Fucking son of a bitch from hell, I kill you with hammers.
I did something special when I ran the obstacle course. I was on a plane with nothing but time on my hands, and I was reading the whole book cover to cover, trying to make sure that I didn't miss anything, or at least, get to the point where I've read something so that when I see it, I kind of, the light bulb goes on in the back of my head. I'm like, yes, I recognize that. And I wrote this entire thing where Hallister is supposed to show up and be like, welcome to the obstacle course. Go ahead and put your items in here, and, if you make it to the end, blah, blah, blah. And it's really cool. It has the announcer, and that's great fun. What I decided was to actually make Hallister time everyone and tell them that they had 1 hour to get through. And unlike every other dungeon, we immediately go to rounds, everybody rolls initiative, and we're in initiative the whole time. I wasn't sure how well it was going to work because it's hard to do exploration round by round. And we did gloss over some stuff and move things around. There was a lot of, we're all going to move up to this person and they're going to stay still for that round. And I'm like, okay. And I would turn the time tracker forward. But it actually ended up being a lot of fun. And it was hilarious to see that TBA managed to successfully just make every correct turn to almost skip all of the optional areas and go directly to the end. Because I'm watching this, and it is definitely one of those DM moments where the horror is dawning on you as you're watching it unfold. You're like, they're really going to do it. They are going to stumble into the perfect exit. And I had thoughts like, oh, you should mix this up. Oh, you should change it out. Oh, you should mess it up. And I was like, no. Let them cook. And it was great. It was definitely one of those moments where it was like being in a movie as the villain. And you're watching the heroes over the cameras. You're watching the CCTV, and they're just making all the right choices and avoiding all your traps. Like, how do they know where it is? How are they navigating my dastardly lair? By accident, actually. Crap. No force on Earth or in heaven, the myriad heavens, could possibly stop pure dumb luck. And so it was great. I just let it happen, and they did it. It was a blast. It was an absolute blast, and I had so much fun with it that my players don't want to go back and explore the rest of it.
I do. Me and Ben, we're gonna do that shit. Me and Zacharias are gonna double down on that motherfucking place, dude.
Yeah, there are 2 people who want to go back and explore all of the corners of it. The rest of them have no desire to go back there at all. They hated being teleported around and having to find their way back and being separated, even after they had cleared the quote-unquote boss of the level, and they still did not want to go through, like, the areas of the chasm where you can't fly over the lava. Oh, God. It's great. It was a very fun level. It was a great challenge to just bring out in front of everybody, and they had a blast with it. Despite not wanting to go back, it was a hit, and I would 10 out of 10 would obstacle course again.
All right. Who has been the FDM's favorite big bad evil guy?
Hallister.
Figures.
Neverember's right there. Neverember's right there because I can dance him in and out, and people are like, is he good? Is he bad? Is he being bad so that he can do the best thing? Is he actually just working for himself? What is going on? And I love the fact that they can't figure it out. It's great. But Hallister is just such a son of a bitch. He just is.
Oh, yeah.
He does things on a whim. His whimsy is like the whimsy of the most cruel fae, unseelie fae that you could imagine. Because even when he does something nice, it's just, you couldn't have counted on it. You can't count on him to do a nice thing. Like, he just could do something else. Might help you across the street, might steal your purse.
Yep.
And it's amazing to be able to utilize someone that is that out there and to know why he is so out there. To be the DM in the know of why Hallister is the Mad Mage and why so many people who are extremely powerful look at Hallister and go, no, we shouldn't stop you because the consequences otherwise are worse. And to know that eventually the players are going to have to make that decision. You know, they're going to get to the end of that storyline. They're going to get to the end of Modern Warfare, and they're going to talk to the senator who's like, I did all of this for America. And then you're going to shoot him anyway because you're like, fuck that guy. I hated that guy.
Yep.
Such a prick. Claim righteousness all you want. I am more than capable of shooting you and throwing you off a building. Jerk.
Hell yeah.
And he'll deserve it the whole way down.
Oh, he will deserve it the whole way down. Out of everything that has been done and said, what is the ForeverDM's all-time favorite D&D moment that fills his heart with love and brings a smile to his lips?
Ooh. There are so many great moments that I could pick that I think about regularly. Every time a PC perishes and they get brought back, and there's the moment of like catharsis to know that they didn't die permanently and aren't gone. There have been great moments of sacrifice where they are permanently gone forever, and there is no bringing them back. That have been tearful farewells that have ended because of like a heroic stand or a last moment of triumph where you die at the finish line, but you've crossed it. You made it, and that was what you needed. But the absolute favorite, and I'm physically like unable to stop myself from smiling just thinking about it. Thinking about telling the story, was when I broke Ben.
No.
Ben was one of those players who was very disappointed in never being able to play a quote-unquote evil game. Because he wanted to be able to play the other side. He wanted to be able to play a, monstrous kind of person. And so I was like, hey, man, I will run a solo game for you. And we'll play an evil game. I like Planescape. Planescape is a blast. It's a great setting. He really liked Planescape because it was crazy. You could go anywhere. You could do anything. You could meet anyone. And so he made his assassin, Lacall Galanadel. And Lacall was a real son of a bitch. He was born in Evermeet. He never really fit in with his family. He didn't really like the fact that they expected him to act nobly. So when he finally got supremely fed up with it and learned the ways of assassination from the shadows, he killed his parents, plundered their treasury, and made off into the plains.
Damn.
There's an ultimate fuck you for raising me wrong, or trying to raise me right. How very well dare you. And he was a bad person. He wasn't super chaotic evil, like going around killing anyone. He was neutral evil. He was self-interested. And he was personally affronted by his parents trying to recorrect him, and so he lashed out. But he was very much the mercenary neutral. He was neutral evil. He was selfish to the core. And it ended up growing from a solo game into a trio game. We brought in 2 other players. And a lot of their core, we had a big dumb barbarian, and we had a gnome wizard who was low wisdom, and so they liked to play off that they were incompetent but strong, and so Lacall was always the guy with the plan.
Well, what's the plan, boss?
And so it was actually a really funny trio because Lacall would mercilessly use and abuse them, but they would always come out on top because that was Lacall's plan. He was selfish. He wanted to come out on top. He didn't care about sharing a smattering of gold pieces with these guys. Anything that they found in treasure, because I was using completely random tables, and Ben loves rolling on tables, so he would find crazy treasure. He would just swipe for himself. And the other players knew it. They were in on the joke, and they were okay with Lacall taking whatever he wanted. But I broke Ben in the same way that Bane broke Batman.
Spine?
Yeah.
Spinally?
I might as well. It was an emotional damage blow that was to that level. Because when Bane broke Batman, it completely changed Batman's arc.
Totally.
his entire story. You just don't recover from something like that fast. That's what happened with Lacall. So Lacall would take a job from anywhere. And so he would take jobs from the Hells. And at one point, he took a job which involved delivering a package picked up from the first level of Hell, delivered to a prime material plane. The job paid well. So Bel ruled it before Zariel, who is currently the ruler of Avernus. Bel was a real son of a bitch. I mean, he's a demon lord. What do you expect? Lacall gets this package, and it's a jar, a glass jar with a fairy inside of it. And his job is to go to the forest outside of a city called Waterdeep and deliver it to Bel's contact there. Okay. Ben knew that there was something wrong with this job. He could smell that it was more detailed than the other jobs that I had him going on. So he goes to make this delivery, and he's got to take this portal and that portal. He's got to find his way to the Forgotten Realms, because his only knowledge of how to get to Sigil from Faerun, or well, not from Faerun because he was from Evermeet, but to get to there from Abertorial, would have brought him back to Evermeet. And he really did not want to go back. He takes this package, he goes outside of Waterdeep, and he is approached by the Contact, who is a beholder. This was the first appearance of the Xanathar in any of my game. I had never used him before. So Xanathar comes up with his slaves around him, controlled by his magic, and asks for Lacall to hand over the package. And Lacall's like, I don't know, man. This seems suspicious. I'm supposed to deliver a fairy in a jar out of hell to you? What am I missing? And so the Xanathar, of course, is like, we're going to negotiate then. Very well. Allow me to confirm to you that this is indeed the contents of the job. And so the Xanathar uses his powers of charm over these minions of his, which are common folk in Waterdeep that he has enslaved, and has one of them walk to the center of this clearing and slice open their own wrists and use their blood to paint a demonic sigil in the ground and to summon up Bel to talk. And the person bleeds out and dies there in front of Lacall, and Ben's like, okay, this is fucked up. That was just like a normal citizen. And I'm like, yeah, you kill people all the time. What do you care? And so he's starting to get nervous. And Bel can't actually summon him fully, but he can, show up as an image and talk. And so he's like, yeah, this is what I want to do. They have this conversation. And Lacall's like, okay, I mean, if that's the job, then sure. And Bel is like, if you are that nervous about it, then I will double your fee, and I will guarantee you in writing that no cost shall come to you for having completed this job. And so they sign a contract, and Ben's like, I'm really intelligent. I'm going to really drill down into it. I've got this magic item that increases my int. I'm like, yep. You're good. We're playing 3.5, so the stat stuff and magic items are like way out of the gate. Like, you're crazy. And so he's like, okay, I'm comfortable now. Here you go. And he hands over the jar. And the Xanathar opens the jar, and it turns out that the fairy in the jar was actually the captured essence of the goddess Ilana herself, the nature goddess of the woods and the wildlands. A goddess of good appears before him, and he's like, uh-oh, what did I just do? And the Xanathar is like, mwahaha, you are now mine. And she is, shackled and bound, and they're going to take her away and do whatever dastardly plan they have. And Bel is like, you have done a fine job, Lacall. I shall see you again when I have another mission to be completed. And he disappears back down into the corpse of the random citizen that's laying there dead. And the Xanathar floats off with his minions to go back to Skullport. And Lacall is just standing there going, wait, was that the actual god? Did I just smuggle a god? And if so, why? So, nervous, he starts to investigate and finds out that there's all kinds of insane stuff going on across the plains. Shock waves have gone out. With the disappearance of Ilana, the balance has shifted in the neutral plane that is below Sigil. The Beastlands have gone crazy because, you see, they're the followers of Obad High, which is the other preeminent, nature god, and they're the followers of Ilana. Ilana was the goddess of, the good side of nature, the nurturing side, the circle of life. Very Mufasa. Ooh. Obad High is the wild god. He is the green man. He believes in the law of tooth and claw. The strong survive, the weak perish. Believes in the circle of life, but it is not necessarily a nice, happy, shiny circle. You're not required to help each other. Nature is wild and can be destructive. And both of these gods have a place in the Beastlands, obviously. But there's supposed to be a balance, and now the balance has been disrupted. In addition, he's got all these jobs that are all of a sudden coming out of his ears, where devils are saying, hey, bro, need you to do this thing. Hey, bro, need you to do that thing. And it turns out that the fiends of hell have made significant gains in a few places in the Blood War, specifically around where Bel's forces are, because he is gaining some kind of benefit from the trapped Ilana. Also, clerics of Ilana across every plane are losing access to their spells, starting at their highest level and slowly going down the list. And Lacall and Ben simultaneously have a crisis of faith. Ben really wanted to play an evil game, and what he just did was about as neutral evil of an act as you could do. He didn't even directly do the worst thing. He just carried a package. It's not his fault. He didn't do anything wrong. He just did a job. If he wasn't going to do the job, man, anybody could have done that job. And I'm like, yeah, Ben, you're right. Anybody could have done that job. It didn't have to be you. And I got to watch in real time the transformation of a person who just was out for themselves turn into someone who realized that they needed to right a wrong that they had committed. And when Ben turned and did that 180, let me tell you, he 180'd hard. Bro took his party to Yggdrasil, the world tree, in the plane of the Beastlands, and went to war with his party against the followers of Obad High, who were trying to seize the world tree to take complete control, so that all of the wilderness across all of the plains would be more wild, and they could push out these foolish, simpering, tree-hugging, sappy, goody two-shoes worshippers of nature, and really bring nature back to the way that it was. And Lacall was like, absolutely fucking not. And they fought their way up the world tree and had to strike down the most powerful clerics of Obad High, a pair of dragons, one of which was a cleric and one of which was a sorceress. Or no, a druid. It was a cleric and a druid. And that was wild. Then he went on an entire vision quest using the Legends and Layers book, Path of Shadow, in order to try and perfect his assassination capabilities, specifically targeting fiends. Oh, and before that, he used, it wasn't deities and demigods, it was the Book of Exalted Deeds, and went to beg forgiveness in the heavens and to ask Domiel the Slayer, an archangel, to grant him the power to assassinate those who cannot be assassinated, to use ravages instead of poisons, which only affect evil creatures, and to be able to use his sneak attack on undead and fiends that are normally immune to sneak attack. He completely turned his class around, and he took control of his alignment. And I was like, hey, man, you have control of this. You say when your character is what. And he's like, I will tell you when I feel he has done enough that he has earned his way out of neutral evil and into neutral. And at the end of the campaign, when we were preparing for him to lay siege to Avernus and attack Bel's forces with an army that he had gathered specifically to wage holy war in the first level of hell to free Ilana from the grasp of Bel, I knew that I had definitely changed this man's life.
Oh, yeah.
And to this day, he brags about that adventure and how amazing it was. You know that you have truly just dealt a massive hit. Not like a painful hit, but like you have struck home. Your story writing and your storytelling struck home with someone when they brag to other people about how deeply your story affected them. Like, that was the day that I felt like I had really made it as a DM, when someone else bragged about my DMing skills.
Yep. That
I could brag about myself all day long. I won't. I'm more humble than that. I know that I'm not that crazy. I just really want people to have a good time, and I try hard. I am a tryhard. Like, it's fine. But when someone else is like, God, that moment, like, listen to them. They love what you did. Appreciate that. That was the moment that I changed Lacall's life and Ben's life. Funny story, he's never asked me to run another evil game for him. That's a redemption story.
Hell yeah, it is. That's a hell of a tale.
More games that I wish I had had the forethought to record.
No kidding. What is your favorite spell, and what is your favorite magic item?
Let me see. My favorite spell is Prestidigitation.
Fuck yes! That's correct.
I really, really like low-level role-playing, and Prestidigitation makes role-playing a low-level spellcaster absolutely wonderful. One of my favorite things. You're going up against a group of bandits. You're a spellcaster. And so you're like, all right, guys, let's sneak up on their base and let's go in and we're going to free the princess. Or you cast Prestidigitation. You surround your wrists in a pair of glowing, flaming skulls. You have lightning crackling from your eyes. You shove the door open, stride into the center of the room, and proclaim that the princess shall be released immediately, or each one of them shall feel their flesh melt from their bones, and their eyes shall be the last thing to burst from their skulls, as they see the foolishness of standing against this wizard. Okay, roll intimidation. That's fucking terrifying. These are common bandits, bro. They might be tough dudes, but if you roll in with flaming skulls, that you might as well be a god that just walked through that door. They don't know for sure. I hope your bluff is good, your deception, whatever edition you're playing. But like, you can rock that. You can rock that until the cows come home. I have literally done that. I had a character who that was his thing. I had a sorcerer whose shtick was that he carried around a pair of morning stars. He was a sorcerer. He's not good at fighting in melee combat, but when those morning stars have flaming heads or there's acid dripping off of them, sizzling the ground, and he's floating a foot off of the ground, rolling toward you, you don't know that he is not dangerous with those morning stars.
Yeah, no kidding.
Maybe we just don't. Maybe we just look at that guy and we go, nah. And when it fails, it's hilarious. Because somebody like sees through the illusion, or they're like, wait a minute, that wizard could do that with Prestidigitation. Ah, shit.
Yep.
Well, I guess we gotta fight these guys. Let's go! Everybody quick, grab your magic missiles. I gotta get out of combat. But it can lead to so many great moments. Just doing things in the middle of a role-playing session. Like, if someone, mentions that their character pulls out their pipe and you snap your fingers and light it from across the campfire. Or you get up in the morning and you're like, well, all the wrinkles on my clothes are gone. I'm going to look great today. When your party member falls into a pile of mud and you're like, it's okay. You're clean. Like, it's great. I love Prestidigitation. It's great. And Thaumaturgy is just as good.
I cannot wait to play a sorcerer and be able to Prestidigitation all the fucking time.
And what was the other one? Magic item.
Well, actually, it doesn't have to be a magic item. It just says item. So maybe you fuck with 10-foot poles, man.
10-foot poles are great.
Yeah.
Nala did use the first one that I have ever seen used effectively in one of my games, which was hilarious because I had been gaming for over 20 years before I finally saw somebody actually use the damn thing right.
First-time players be like that.
Yep. What can I do with the least? But I do want to go over my actual personal favorite magic item.
Okay.
And as someone who does not get to play often, I have always had a huge thing for the elemental swords. I love the Flame Tongue, but specifically, I really, really like Ice Brand. And unfortunately, in 5th edition, they are very lackluster. Like Ice Brand in 5e is a very rare sword. It can be any sword, not instead of just longsword. Requires attunement. When you hit an attack with this magic sword, it takes an extra d6 cold damage. In addition, when you hold the sword, you have resistance to fire damage. That's pretty good. Resistance to fire damage, very common damage type. Doing an extra d6 is pretty cool. Extra damage to your attacks it stacks, man. It does. In freezing temperatures, the blade sheds bright light in a 10-foot radius, dim light in an additional 10 feet. When you draw this weapon, you can extinguish all non-magical flames within 30 feet of you. This property can be used no more than once per hour. And that's it. That's all. Like, you used to be able to do things like slam the sword down into a body of water and freeze an area of the water.
Yeah.
Like, you could do crazy stuff with it. And obviously, any creative DM could rule, yeah, you could still do that. You know, d6 points of cold damage is left for freeze water. Or, you know, whatever they want to decide. But it's not like in the game anymore. I have always loved magic swords.
Dude, you must have been fucking losing your mind when I picked up Imitator's Tooth again.
Yep. It was a wind version of magic sword.
Yep.
Just same way I lost my mind when you gave the Blade of Burden.
That's so good.
Just blew my mind. I'm like, I love magic swords. They are a quintessential part of Dungeons and Dragons, just as much as any wizard. Everybody has their favorite class, their favorite race. Everybody has their favorite setting. I like fighters, and I like the idea of being a warrior and drawing your magic weapon, a sword, and pulling out your shield and getting ready to go into combat where only your martial skill and your strength and determination are going to determine whether you live or the monster does.
Yep.
And that is really, really awesome. And a lot of people, like Ben, feels the same way about wizards. He loves the idea of being able to weave magic out of the air and be able to make things that he imagines into reality by reshaping the world with his mind. That's cool. That's his version of drawing a sword. I love it. But that's for me. I love Ice Brand.
I gotta say my favorite spell is probably also Prestidigitation. It's just so good. My favorite item, you already know. You already know it's Dust of Dryness.
Yep.
I love Dust of Dryness like you would not believe. It is one of the most versatile items I have ever found in any game. And with a permissive and understanding DM such as the ForeverDM, it's pretty fucking fantastic. I have used it in some pretty ridiculous ways, and I can't wait to see you guys witness it.
Yeah, that is wild.
What inspired you to record and animate the sessions you had?
What inspired me to record it? Insanity. It's the only thing that I can really nail down.
Yep.
I looked at it and I was like, hey, yeah, you know, maybe someday I might do something with this. It would be really cool. I'd love to have it's like, maybe not everybody can jive with this, but
yeah,
I have had a feeling in the past when I have been at a gathering with some of my friends, or I have gone to a particular place that I had a lot of fun at, or I did something that was particularly cool, and I have said to myself, I wish I had a picture of that. I wish I had a camcorder with me. I wish I had, in modern day, a drone that was just flying over me, recording things all the time.
Yep.
So I could clip that part of my life.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stories are amazing. And there was a part of me that was like, well, maybe it is just precious that you shared that in person with those other people and it was destined to become a memory. But there was a part of me that just didn't actually like that. I like the idea of sharing amazing moments, sharing the great stuff that happens with other people who would enjoy watching.
Yeah, man.
And so I was just like, you know what? I will record them. And maybe someday I'll learn how to edit, because I didn't know anything about any of this.
I know.
Yeah, you definitely know. And it was cool. I started recording some of my my D&D sessions, and I thought that it would be fun. And then John Boy started drawing pictures for every episode that we had. And I was like, wow, that's really amazing. Like, I already knew he was a great artist. I had already read his comic books, his manga, and just really enjoyed everything. Oh, what's up, honey? And so I was like, maybe I'll do that. Well, what I'll do is, if John Boy's okay with it, then I'll take his picture that he does for every episode, and I'll just put that, and people can look at his amazing art while they listen to the episode go by. I had been thinking about it, and the more that I was thinking about it, the more I was like, well, it would be cool if there was a little more than just like a picture, right? So maybe I can do like a little animation dude. Because I created the idea of having the little paper doll ForeverDM VTuber guy in the corner and kind of half-ass animating him. I guess that's technically animation. It didn't feel like animation to me because, like I said, I was a know-nothing. I was like, I think of animation and I'm thinking like, full motion cartoons, Transformers being more than meets the eye. I was not an animator guy. I was not even a podcast person. But I was like, this will be fun. And it was fun. Around then is when Chesh came along. And thanks to exactly how difficult it was for me to animate things.
Oh my god.
That is
we should
why
probably tell that story
Chesh even
now.
joined us in the first place.
I found a random forum post advertising looking for players that was outdated and no longer true. I joined a server and I was like, are you guys still recruiting for the best available? And they were like, no. And I was like, okay. But there was a guy in a voice chat, and I DM'd the ForeverDM account about this. But there was a different guy in a voice chat. I don't even remember your old username, but he was in there doing some video editing. I had no idea this was also the FDM, because this is his alt account that he uses when he's not professionally DMing. So I'm sitting in the voice call, force muted because I don't have permissions in that voice chat, watching him edit it was like an Invincible meme about metagaming or power gaming or something.
Yeah.
And just watching him edit this stuff insanely slowly. Like, he wasn't using any keybinds, he was just like clicking the symbols. And I could see like the mouse jiggling around in, where do I go to do this thing again? And I'm losing my mind. I'm just sitting there like,
because this is what Chesh does. He's the video editor.
Yeah, and I taught myself, and so I know how hard it is to get your head around these tools. And I was like, could you please unmute me so I'm a video editor. I can teach you how to use keybinds. I can get, it will speed up your process so much just with a few tips. Let me help you out real quick. And he did. He was like, okay. Because that's honestly a little bit of a strange thing to say to a stranger, but I was going to explode.
Yeah. Random person who has just joined the Discord server.
Who knows if I was going to be like,
editing something.
Hey, what you really want to do...
just unmute me so that I can correct what you're doing?
So what you would like to do is press this key to click this snipping tool. It could have been so bad. But luckily for him, I was competent and chill, and I didn't teach him anything. I just took over. We got to talking.
Well, so yeah, it was funny. It initially started with him trying to teach me some stuff, and obviously I am completely out of my depth with this program. I'm doing it anyway, but it's going to take time. He's trying to teach me key bindings, and I'm like, yeah, okay, and it was cool. It helped quite a bit. It did actually speed stuff up, and I was like, oh, this is great. And then of course we get to talking, and he finds out oh, this is the ForeverDM. It's this guy. And over the course of our conversation, he's like, hey, would you be interested in having me do this? And so, again, I only just met this boy. He sounds like he's 10.
I was.
And I'm like, all right, I'll tell you what. I'll keep working on what I'm working on. And the Invisible Meme actually came later. You caught me while I was working on the episode.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll keep working on what I'm working on. I'll send you the raw file and give you a little bit of overview of like what my vision is. And yeah, man, I probably wouldn't be able to pay you much, but if you're fast and you're good and you seem to be good, then I could see this, being a thing. That perspective lasted 2 days. Because in the time that it took for him to completely finish his version, his first draft, which was done, and ask me what changes I wanted, I had finished another 2 minutes of the video. So I went, okay, I'm gonna pay you now to do this.
The best part about this is at the time, I think when we were talking about it, I was putting on a very professional front. I had edited like 2 videos for some streamer sometime once before this. I was
everything else was just for your channel.
And I was just shitposting around making gaming videos for fun. There was like nothing professional about my experience up to that point, but I was like, yes, I surely can edit this complicated Dungeons & Dragons web series, for sure. And that was my first reliable gig.
Make it till you make it.
Yeah, and goddamn, if we made it pretty far. Like, I would consider this a success already. It's really something. Like, we've made such strides at this point, and my talent as an editor has improved immensely through the editing of this series. Been a pretty brutal training ground, to be honest. But a lot was learned. And then a couple months later, I ended up joining the Best Available as a player.
Yep, we ended up having an opening. There has to be a unanimous vote, and everybody voted positively to bring the Chesh in.
Though some were they wondered if it would work out, because I didn't know most of them very well. Some say, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And others say, if you make your hobby your job, you'll lose your passion. Do you ever find yourself hating tabletop games, or even that there's no joy in it sometimes? Or do you manage to keep that fire burning all the time? Is there something you like to do in order to keep that engine chugging?
I definitely feel like both of those sayings are half-truths. Never working a day in your life is different from loving the work that you're doing. So I wouldn't expect to do anything and to just never feel like you're working and never feel like you have to, do hard work in order to get done. But also, I am happy and proud enough of the work that I do that sometimes, it doesn't feel like I've worked. I finish a 6-hour game session and I'm like, man, I'm so jazzed that went so well. And it doesn't feel like work sometimes. Like, it really doesn't. But sometimes when I'm doing like preparation, when I'm trying to figure stuff out, when I'm creating stuff, sometimes it definitely does feel like work. And there are times where I do have to push through and be like, no, this has to get done. Do not let yourself stop. Yeah, that can be rough. I have felt the passion for my hobby flicker a couple of times where I'm just like, there's just so much, and I wish I could stop. But a lot of the time, I find that is usually because of an outside influence. I'm having a difficult time in my personal life, or suffering through financial troubles. Because it's not a lucrative experience. I'm not a VTuber. I'm not Mr. Beast or anything like that, where people are like, oh yeah, clamoring for the next. I have fans clamoring for the next ForeverDM creation, but they're not, throwing so much money that I can do $1 million giveaway if you can, snatch the dollar bill from underneath the hot dog before the Doberman gets your arm. Like, some weird Mr. Beast level challenge.
We don't have enough money to torture poor people for our own entertainment yet.
Yeah, no bum fights here.
We'll get there, though.
The really important thing is that the passion is always there. And though occasionally I'll have a hard time to lose sight of it, stepping back, taking account of the great things that I have going on in my life, the blessings, some people like to call them, can really help when I realize how good I do have it. And it's funny because if I look at the way that things are right now and it never gets any better than this, God, what a glorious dream I've lived already. And if it does get better, well then, hell, all speed ahead.
And it will, because my schemes can't be contained. It's, on my side of things, making all of these videos and series and all the work that I do on the series is pretty exhausting. But some people are here just out of, pure passion. And I am passionate about the stories we're telling. I think the work that I'm doing here is really special, and I'm very proud of it. I also am relatively ambitious. I think this shit can go to the moon, and I am doing everything in my power to make that happen. I believe the best available will reach a incredibly broad audience one day, and I'm excited to see that happen. Because I think what we're making is art that deserves to be appreciated. I'm proud of what we're making, and I think everyone else can derive a lot of value and entertainment from it, and everything else we make.
But to get back to the original question was, do you feel like your work that you do is you not feeling like you're actually having to work? Or do you feel like sometimes maybe you do lose a little bit of that passion and feel the impact of doing the thing you love as a job?
It's absolutely a job. But if I didn't... Work is work. It's exhausting. And you wake up in the morning sometimes feeling like hungover from just existing, and you don't want to do anything, but you have to. It's work, yeah? But if I was doing a job I didn't love, I wouldn't be able to tolerate it. I couldn't. Choosing to do the work I love is living. To answer the question in its intended phrasing, I wouldn't want to not work a day in my life. Work is what makes life fulfilling, only if it's worth doing. And this is worth doing. All right, we're coming up on the last few questions.
Holy shit! It's only been 3 hours and 55 minutes.
No kidding. What's the best advice you've ever been given?
It's going to be corny. It has to, almost.
Oh, yeah.
My best advice that I was given was from my dad. That very much has helped me go, oh, yeah, no, that actually makes sense. But my hands down best advice that I ever got was from my dad. And it was advice that he gave me consistently for a really long time. And because of the era that I grew up in, I have reanalyzed that advice in dozens of times in my life and refined what it meant to me before I was finally able to realize what he was actually trying to share. And that advice was for me to follow my passion and find a way to make that what I do with my life. Because everybody has passions. And I think that finding a way to turn your passion into what brings your life meaning is a really powerful thing. Whether it ends up bringing a bunch of money in or not. Whether you end up having to fund it by doing something else. Someone who is a passionate mountain climber, they don't climb mountains for money. They have to pay for that shit. They have to buy that gear. They have to pay for the plane tickets to fly to whatever mountain they're going to climb. And to where they're going to stay while they're there, what they're going to eat while they're there. They have to organize their life around the thing that they're passionate about. And they arrange their life around climbing mountains. So just organize your life around something that fulfills you. Originally, when I was 18, I organized myself around my friends. I liked running D&D games with my friends. I liked LARPing. Adventurers Inn was an amazing part of my life. Bortwa was great. I met a lot of great people. I learned a lot of life lessons. I met several awful people. I realized later that that wasn't quite what he meant, because I was living a very hedonistic lifestyle where I was working a dead-end job here just to get enough money to get by to the next thing. I was chasing that high. And as I got older, I realized, well, what about my passions? You know, not just this quick shot of dopamine that I get from doing the thing, not just this crazy weekend at Bernie's style hangout with a bunch of people, but like the actual passion for it. And that was when I started to get into IT. It allowed me to do a lot of the things that I wanted. I liked to travel. I got to install technology in air traffic control towers. And I used that money to fuel even more adventures. I got into Amped Guard. I got into having Garb. I got into having a collection of swords. I got actual full-size foam carve buster sword made. I got good enough at sword fighting with saber and tower shield that I would go to other LARPs with friends like Shadow Wolf, and then I would get banned from fighting. That felt good when someone is like, "You're too good at this. Please stop." And I'm like, "Okay, I will stop using a shield and I will fight single sword." Or, yeah, give me a smaller shield. I like tower shields. But the part that I really loved was the stories and telling people about the stories, the wild adventures that we had, the absolute madness that happened with, saving one of the people who had fallen behind from the bar guests that were chasing us down the volcano as it was erupting. All theater of the mind and, laced out in little lines on the ground to show you the path to the quote-unquote volcano. And then getting downed from behind by this guy who had actually decided that he wanted to play one of the monsters because he had it out for me because I crushed him in the dueling circle. And I took my lump. He successfully snuck up behind me. He hit her with a ranged attack so that she would go down. I leapt off onto one of the lower levels in order to save her. Bandaged her up, got her on her way. She continued on, and then he got me from behind, and I was like, he got me. Ronius is down. It's over. And so I went down, and he was grinning ear to ear. He didn't say anything, but it was one of the, you could tell. He was like, I got you. This was my goal. I killed your character. Ha ha ha. And the absolute glee that I got as the GMs were standing there with the big red rope stretched between them with a bunch of the little cloth tassels off of it so that it looked like fire, and they were shaking. They were like, the lava is flowing towards you. And when you're down in that game, you're not like down. You can like crawl. You can't crawl fast, and they're walking towards you. And so I like crawled over to my shield where I had dropped it when I died, and I grabbed my shield. I placed my sword over my chest, laying on the ground, and I placed my shield over myself, looking like the thing that's carved into the top of a sarcophagus. And so people were like watching from the sidelines, and I'm like, I'm getting to grandstand as my character's dying here. I'm gonna get run over by lava. This is amazing. And everyone else got off the mountain. Ronius got what he wanted. Everyone was saved. He didn't mind that he was going to go down. And then Kat gets up to my feet, and she goes, and the lava washes over your feet. And I go, hold. And they're like, okay, what is it? How about lucky for my character? Sorry, what? Lucky was a trait that they allowed you to buy during character creation, where once per game, you could be in a situation and it could just be, I luck out of it. And they're like, well, how the fuck are we going to do that? You're down on a mountain getting run over by lava.
I remember this story, dude.
Can't lucky out of that. And I'm like, actually, would you like my personal storyteller opinion? And they were silly enough to say yes. And I said, well, you see, my shield in my character's background was actually made of obsidian, which is a stone crafted from lava flows, and is particularly resistant to lava, for it has the feather of a phoenix in its core, handed down from the Armstrong family for generations. Oh, wait, sorry. Wrong anime. And so they ended up deciding that the shield protected him from being burned to death by the lava, and that the fact that he was able to still be alive and bleeding out meant that he wouldn't suffocate underneath the crust and was able to break free and slowly wobble himself back. And the look on the bar guest's face when my character walked out of there alive, and I went over to one of the fire pits that we've been using earlier in the day, and I covered my garb in ash out of the fireplace and covered my shield, and I dragged myself 1 foot in front of the other back to the inn, and everybody's like, he's alive! He was so fucking mad. That was a passionate moment. Like I had a passion for this. But it was more the more I told stories like that, the more I kind of wanted them to be about more than just me. Because like telling a story about yourself doing something awesome like that is really cool. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I actually enjoy telling the stories more about a band of people. My heroic actions were great to talk about. But I liked the things that we did together. You know, when I called the charge and everybody charged in and seized the throne room to kick out the evil fae that had taken over and had imprisoned the regent. Like, those were cooler because those stories weren't just about me. They were about everybody. And so my passion kind of changed. And I was like, what about if it was just about everybody else? And then came the maniacal, megalomaniac DM who was like, if I was the one running the game, if I was the one who was making all of the calls behind the scenes in conjunction with the players, with full desire to make sure that they have a good game, with absolute aim toward the invulnerability of Rule 0, then could those stories be even better? And that, I think, was really when I not only was... Because I had already been called the ForeverDM so many times. Oh, you're a ForeverDM, you're a ForeverDM. I was always the guy who was willing to run the game. I ran so many games. But I think that point was probably where I went, this is what I want. And now, that is what I do. And it's working. That's become my passion. And maybe, someday, my passion will change again. I am under no illusion that it couldn't. I didn't think it could change back then. I didn't think it could change when I was 18. I didn't think it could change when I was 22. I didn't think it could change when I was 35. I'm pretty sure it can probably change now that I'm 43. Someday, maybe I'll be sitting down in an interview room talking about our animated series, and someone will ask me the same question. I hope that I'll be able to give as concise of an answer.
I don't think that was very concise, but it was moving.
I feel like it was concise.
Like a solid 25 minutes, man.
You're one to talk.
Am I? Here's the best advice I've ever been given. My great aunt told me, if you ever want to be good at something, get ready to fuck it up a lot more times before you get it right. Because there's no better way to improve.
Oh, yeah.
Which I hate because I'm a perfectionist.
You learn very little from success, but you learn a hell of a lot from failure.
Yep.
Unless it's your last one.
So I've made a ton of shitty videos, and now I make really good ones. See, that wasn't even a minute. What advice do you have for newer DMs?
Oh...
I feel like it might just be the same advice your father gave you, yeah?
Yeah, but I think I can be a little bit more specific.
Go for it.
Since we're talking about specifically DMing.
Mm-hmm.
The perfect omelet starts with 2 eggs, not 3. Some people add milk for density. This is a mistake. God, I love that movie. I think that there's a million things I could probably say, and I could go on for as long as I did for the last one, or longer, trying to go over all of it. But a lot of it would probably be hard to all keep in mind. So I'm going to try and keep it to just 3 things. And I'm not even going to go over them in depth. The first one is Rule 0. Just make sure that you have an aim toward everyone having fun. Everyone. That's your goal. You, your players, are your primary concern. That's your focus group. Include yourself in there. A lot of people discount themselves. And that's sometimes how you burn yourself out, is you will give so much and not get enough in return. But at the end of the day, whether we're nudged in a direction by a player doesn't matter as long as we're still having fun. If you're not having fun, or you see that someone else isn't having fun, try and address that and fix it. Because you are the person with the power in the room. You took the mantle of the Dungeon Master. Use it. The second one is find your niche. Everybody's got a niche. Usually it's the kinds of things that we like to see. If you are really into the Lord of the Rings, why are you into Lord of the Rings? What part of it? Is it how hardcore the world is? How low-key magic is? Maybe low magic Dungeons and Dragons might be right for you. Maybe an older edition might be right. Or if you like the newer rule sets, maybe just modifying things so that it is less of a high magic world would be better. if you like wacky adventures and you like to go hog wild with crazy antics, don't get judged by someone who doesn't want to play through crazy antics. Just don't play with them in a game. If they're not going to enjoy it, there's no reason for them to join. And if you running the game they want to play isn't going to be fun for you, then don't run it. If you're getting paid for it, you can put up with a hell of a lot more. I mean, let's be honest. $20 is $20 is a saying for a reason. We're not all joking when we say that. We're really not. But for the most part, aim for your niche. Veer out of it. Have wacky moments in your serious adventures or serious moments in your wacky adventures. But aim for what you enjoy and bring in others that enjoy it too. And the third thing, don't let yourself get abused. It is very, very easy, especially these days, for people to reverse power dynamics. They have become skilled at this. It is abusive and it is wrong. And if they're doing it to you, usually, whether they will admit it or not, they know it's wrong and they are doing it on purpose. Don't take their excuses. Don't let yourself be pushed around. If a player tries to force you to do something that you really don't want to do, whether it's allow them to describe their filthy makeout session with the monster that they just seduced, or if it's to actually strap an NPC to something and torture them. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you don't mind doing it, hey man, I play Delta Green. Go wild. I don't have a lot of things that squick me. But if you don't want to do something, don't let someone make you. And never let someone convince you that you are an abuser when you are a giver. And if they step back and can't come back with a cool head, remove their chair. That's not a place for them to sit. I don't like seeing DMs get hurt by their players. And it happens a lot. Don't let it happen to you.
My advice would be to try running pre-made modules first because it'll help you get the hang of the mechanics faster.
That's a very good one.
As somebody who started with homebrew, homebrew's really fun, but having a structure to rely upon is very helpful.
Oh yeah, that's more like actual advice for discovering running the game rather than the social advice for running that I was giving. Mm-hmm. What are your other two?
If I have to have three, because they didn't ask for three, you just decided to give three.
I put you on the spot. No, you don't have to. You don't have to come up with more.
I could come up with more.
I'm not going to stop you.
I know. Don't underestimate the impact a side quest can have on the larger plot. You have no idea how important a random trinket can be. There's no such thing as an unimportant detail, because the players can make that the point of the game and completely forget the main antagonist and plotline you had in mind. So if you're putting something in there, be prepared for it to take over.
That's true. Be mindful that you can, at any point, do some crazy mental gymnastics and make it relevant to the plot that you want them to get back to. Guys, please, back on the path.
In card tricks, that's called the Magician's Force, where you give them a decision, and then whatever their decision, you give them the option you wanted them to pick. The last piece is that Rule 0 is very important. Everyone having fun is important. Remember that this is your table. So the kind of game that is being run there and what sort of things are the baseline for entertainment and enjoyment come from you. Don't run a game you don't like because someone else has different tastes. Tell them to find a different table. That's not a cruel thing to do. It's just fair.
1000%.
Don't waste their time. Don't waste yours. Last question, until we get to a couple funny, silly ones that won't take long. For all the people who don't know, can you give a sentence or two summarizing each game you are currently running or have run? This is a very big in scope question, so I'm going to pare it down to games that you have run in the ForeverDM Fest Hall.
Yes.
Including Zacharias' Storm King's Thunder.
All right. So, Storm King's Thunder was the adventure where the ordning of the giants, which is the thing that keeps them in order from strongest to weakest, was broken by something, and a party of adventurers had to figure out what was going on as the giants assaulted the north. The heroes of the north, as they were eventually minted, manage to push things back, reinstate the ordning, and defeat the force behind the fracture. The best available is a party of adventurers in the standard adventure path for Undermountain. There is a festival going on where a group of 20 adventuring parties delves down into Undermountain in order to fight back the forces of darkness so that they do not flood out of Undermountain and affect the lives of the people in Waterdeep. It is currently ongoing and is in its 4th year of play and should wrap up this year. The Cobalt Flamers is the sister group to the best available, running half as often, but just as passionately. They are also in Undermountain and have discovered that they are in a strange split timeline and there's something odd going on. And, well, let's just say that crew is just a little more morally gray than the one that has Angela Hawthorne at the helm. The randomizer crew is now in its 2nd iteration, where I run random stuff on every other Monday evening when I feel like it for whoever shows up in the supporter Discord. We just have a blast with it. It's a adventure action-packed game. It's not as much with the role-playing. It's a test bed for all kinds of cool things, and we've done a lot of crazy stuff with it. The Last Resort is another party that is going through Storm King's Thunder. They discovered that some force went back into the past and actually killed Zacharias Rolls, the wizard who eventually went on to become a hero of the North and helped to create the Forge Tenders in the city of Forgeholm. They have gone back. Well, a elf named Aravan has stopped the future Zacharias from melting away, are trying to figure out exactly what happened in the past to make someone want to do this, and who is even capable of making such a change. And while they are back there, they have to attempt to stitch together, with very minimal information, the actions that the old heroes of the North did in order to stop the giants from overrunning the North and everything from falling apart. It is a pretty cool scenario. Storm's King's Thunder with a couple of extra additions, like the Inexorables from MCDM's book. I am running The Border Kingdoms, which is also using some MCDM material. Kingdoms in warfare, strongholds, and followers. It is a group of adventurers that have headed down south to the Border Kingdoms, far away from the normal areas, like the Savage Frontier or even the coast of Faerun. They are heading up a party to protect the lands of Duke Eagleshield, a noble from Waterdeep who has gone down to the city of Durlusk and has decided to take it as his own dukedom and bring these people into a kingdom. It is a kingdom building scenario where they have not gotten into the kingdom building portion yet, with some interesting twists. I am also going to be running Tales of the Inner Sphere at some point soon, which is going to be a very interesting, I think, Battletech / Mech Warrior game, which should be a lot of fun. Welcome Party 1 and 2 have both finished, and Welcome Party 3 is currently mustering. The Welcome Parties are a maximum 6 players group of supporters who come in, and I run a small adventurer for them that we do custom for the group. If they want to play a pre-made module, we'll totally do that. If they want to play something completely custom that brings in all their backgrounds, we will. If they want to run a dangerous story with high stakes, I will be happy to do that. And they are just now starting to build up. And I think that is all of the ones that I'm running right now. Oh, no. Overdoses and Dragons, Return of the Smack. It is the original Dungeons and Dragons game using the old BECMI system. The BECMI. We call it OD&D. It's the original stuff. It's the player's encyclopedia version of Dungeons and Dragons. And it is a lot of fun. Currently, the party is going through the classic Keep on the Borderlands module that I've run many, many times and is a lot of fun. And I'm pretty sure that's it. There's some others that I'm playing in, but I'm not running any of those.
All right.
I'm currently running a game called Unfinished Business, where the party is made up of revenants. They all died in a TPK in the first session, by design, and they are seeking revenge on the pasty son of a bitch who killed them. I think that's a particularly fun game, set down south of the Sword Coast in Tethir. And I am very soon going to be running a game, which I guess is probably as close to my equivalent of a welcome party as I'll get, called The Guard, where the party is just some guards in Waterdeep who have to deal with some day-to-day troubles, taking them from level 1 to level 5, and wrapping up with a fun finale I have planned that I'm keeping secret.
Ooh.
I have a unfortunate and intimidating number of games planned for my future, because, again, I can't help it. Okay, now all that's left is a few fun questions. Do Drow dream of Underdark sheep? I vote yes.
Drow don't dream. They're elves. They trance, which is frustrating because it's just a mental exercise in there.
Of torturing Underdark sheep.
Elves, my god, why did I have to... No.
What does this mean? What does this one mean? Does the brine smell linger, or is it a curse only the gods could cure?
Oh, Feyfire. The brine smell lingers. The curse that only the gods can cure is actually the fact that all of the players and the DM get a huge amount of hilarity out of him constantly being pickled.
Fair. Will the Electrum Factory take over the world?
Not if the adventurers can help it, but odds aren't looking good.
Odds are not looking good.
For the adventurers, not for the Electrum Factory.
Yeah, for the adventurers, yeah. It's getting pretty doomed out here.
I forgot one of the adventures. Go back. Out of the Abyss. Welcome Party 2 finished their game, and just like Welcome Party 1 finished their game and wanted to do a campaign, Welcome Party 2 wanted to do a campaign, and they chose Out of the Abyss. And if you would like to see some interesting things about the Electrum Factory, hopefully at some point I will put out the first episodes of Out of the Abyss, which actually involves the far down in the line of succession of Oratella getting married, and they find out that the Electrum Factory has actually spread there, and they are mass producing their Electrum Watchers for the safety of the people of Oratella, of course.
When will we get the recipe for Zacharias Rolls?
Oh,
when we get a sponsored cookbook.
Yeah. Or when Ben stops promising that he'll kill me if I keep referencing it.
Related. How do you put up with Scorp being a dingus?
Very easily, actually. He is a lot of fun to play with. And Florcina is a great character. That's her name, right?
Yep. Yeah, it is. It is. My question for the folks back home is, of all those games that we just listed, which would you be most interested in seeing long form show up on the ForeverDM archive? We don't have the resources to make a fully illustrated and edited web series alongside TBA just yet. But putting the long form VODs out, if that would be something you guys were interested in, is a lot more feasible.
True.
Feel free to let us know in the comments.
I do love the comments. I love going through and actually scrolling through all of them. I know that not a lot of people will just like go through all of their comments, but man, I just love it. It is fun.
And with that, that's everything.
All right.
The full AMA done. Anything else you want to say to the folks back home?
Yeah. So I can't believe that in the time that it took us to collate all of these questions, we went from 10K to 14K. I wish we had been able to do it faster, but we already set our timeline for it. So I hope that this is still enjoyable for all of you. My God, thank you for 14K. And just keep adventuring in your daily lives all the time. Everything can be an adventure. And even when it's not the kind of adventure you wanted to be on, even when your workday sucked, we can share an adventure here. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you in the next one. Congratulations, all.
Yo, usually the FDM reads the credits, not tell him, that's a waste of time, FDM. That takes so much time. Why would you do that? We have too many patrons. And he says, no, I'm going to do it anyway. So, just this once, I will read all of the patrons. There are too many songs in this video. You will find the credits for that in the description. So we're just gonna go straight to the fucking power tier. What up, Dark Sarah, Darth Cavalier, David, Doodle Poodle? You draw for us, man. Why do you pay us money? Emanon, J. Jones, John the Wicked, Joshua Williams, Sneaky G, and the Traveling Bard Extraordinaire. In the planar tier, we got Gordy Dank, Ice Commander, Ice Dragon, and Sparkle Lord, the Fabulous. Adventurer tier, all is fiction. Andrew Akiyama, Bastion Falconwrath, Brian Dragon Tempest, John R300, Justin Katie, Moss Hope Akinwall, Mystics Ty Korjak, and V. In the Quest Giver tier, we got Breezebender, Chris Householder, He Holds Your Houses, Cold Brad, not to be mistaken for Hot Brad, Dark Sarah again, Galth the 7th, Jesse Labrie, Link FD, Kyla, Lunatic Overlord, Night Archer, and ODST Hero Halo Represent, PPT 807. What up, Peter? Roberts, Edwards, and Mischief, Rio 1990, Samantha, Sephiroth, Kurasame, and Sin for You. For me? In the townsfolk, we got Adrian, Blizzard Hawk, Bird or the Cage, Biz Adrian, he's like Adrian but more business, Brett Bemis, Dylan Taylor, Doodle Poodle again, Enrique, Kazuko, Lone Soul 6, Love Bites Back, Morden Dragon, Scott Stedman, Sense Backpack, Sergeant Humpty, Sherlock Shugenja, Tom Brazeau, and Wicked Ways. Thank you to Scion of Magnus and Sammy Wolf for keeping this ship afloat before I even got here, and once again, shout out to us, the goddamn creative team, Doodle Poodle, Nala Fontaine, Shadow Wolf, Scorpius187, me, your editor, MC Cheshire, my friend, Thriving Inferno, and the Forever DM as himself. Thank you guys for watching, supporting, commenting, and giving us money. Whoop whoop! Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see you in the next one. Good night, all.